Dear beloved friend, the first light of morning has not yet broken the horizon. The stars still whisper their final songs, and the world, cloaked in silence, remains suspended between night and day. This is the hour when the soul stirs before the body does, when the hush of creation makes room for the sacred, before the rush, before the noise. Before expectations begin their relentless knocking, there is this sliver of time, thin, holy, tender, a moment carved not by the clock, but by eternity. And in this very moment, I want to speak gently to the part of you that is quietly aching, the part you do not always show, even to those closest to you. Maybe this morning you woke up before your alarm, your heart racing without a reason you could name. Maybe you have been carrying something heavy, a diagnosis you did not expect, betrayal you never saw coming, a disappointment that lingers longer than you thought it would. Or maybe, like many do, you smiled yesterday in front of others. While your spirit wept in the silence of your room, there is someone listening right now whose life has felt like a slow unraveling. You have been showing up at work, at church, in relationships, but deep down, you have wondered how much longer you can hold all the pieces together. You have cried behind closed doors, whispered questions into the dark, and asked heaven silently, "Where are you?" To you, dear friend, I want to say this: God has not overlooked your pain. He has not ignored your exhaustion. He has not been absent during your darkest hours. In fact, it may be that you were stirred awake this very morning, not by anxiety, not by restlessness, but by His invitation. This early hour is not random. It is a divine appointment, not to burden you, but to meet you, not to expose your weakness, but to whisper strength. You see, there is something sacred about seeking Him when the world is still asleep. There is something powerful about choosing to turn your face to heaven before the sun has even shown its own. This is not about religion. This is not about rules. This is about relationship. About coming just as you are, into a quiet conversation with the one who knows you fully and loves you completely. You do not need polished prayers or perfect words. You only need a willing heart. What if these early hours became your sanctuary? What if your awareness was not a sign of failure, but a signal for encounter? What if your questions were not evidence of lost faith, but the doorway to a deeper one? We often wait until life quiets down to seek God, but what if He is already in the silence, waiting for us to notice? This is your moment to step into something deeper, not because you have the strength, but because He does. Not because you have all the answers, but because He is the answer. There is a table prepared for you. Even in the wilderness of your questions, there is a covering waiting for you. Even if you have felt exposed, there is a hand extended toward you, even if you have pulled back in fear. Friend, this is not just a morning. It is a threshold. And on the other side of this threshold is a God who still speaks, still heals, still mends what feels too broken to fix. He sees you, all of you, the brave parts, the tired parts, the confused parts. And He is not disappointed by any of them. He is simply saying, "Come." as we begin this journey of morning prayer together over the next 24 chapters. I invite you to lean in heart first. Let each word be an open door, each silence an invitation. These prayers are not just meant to be listened to. They are meant to be entered, to pull you closer, not only to God's promises, but to His presence. You do not have to walk into this day alone. You do not have to carry yesterday's weight into today's altar. Let this space become your meeting place. Let these moments become your turning point. And if all you can offer is a whisper, know that even a whisper is loud in the ears of heaven. So here we are, just you and God. No more pretending, no more striving. Just presence, just prayer, just peace rising slowly like the sun about to crest the horizon. Step forward. He is already waiting. Dear Heavenly Father, you see me here in the silence before the world awakens. The light has not yet stretched across the sky, but my heart is already reaching for you. I did not come with polished prayers or perfect thoughts. I came because something inside me knew that this hour mattered. I came because I could no longer ignore the quiet pull in my spirit. This moment, before the sun rises, feels like a doorway. I do not want to miss what you are doing in this stillness. There is a weight I have been carrying, not always heavy enough to crush me, but just enough to make everything feel dim. Some mornings, I wake up numb, more tired than the night before. It is not just physical fatigue. It is something deeper, a kind of fog that settles in the soul. Press through responsibilities and smile when I have to. But inside, I wonder if I am moving or just existing. I remember a time when joy came easier, when I could feel wonder in small things. But lately, it feels like I have been sleepwalking through my own life. Yet somehow, this morning is different. You stirred me before the alarms, and the schedules, and the noise. You invited me here not to perform, but to be present, not to impress, but to be real. And here I am, bringing what I have, the honest the scattered thoughts, the quiet hopes. I do not know what this hour will hold, but I sense you in it. I feel you here, not in thunder, but in stillness, not in answers, but in presence. Thank you for meeting me in a place I did not expect to find you. Not at the end of a long sermon, not after everything is fixed, but here, in the gentle quiet before daybreak. I do not have to earn this moment. I just have to say yes to it. You are not asking me to be more than I am. You are simply asking me to be here. And that I can do, that I am doing. I bring you the quiet places in me that have forgotten how to speak. The corners I have left unlit because I did not know how to face them. I bring you the numbness that has settled over parts of me like dust. Would you breathe on them again? Would you wake up what has been sleeping? I am not even sure how to ask, but I know you understand the prayers I do not have words for. You hear the ones that come in the form of sighs and long pauses. You hear the ones buried in silence. Sometimes I think I have to come to you full of fire, full of faith, full of bold declarations. But this morning, all I have is a whisper. I offer it to you, not because it is strong, but because it is honest. You said that a bruised reed you would not break, and a smoldering wick you would not snuff out. I hold on to that today. I may not feel blazing, but I am still burning. Somewhere beneath the awareness, my spirit is still reaching. This is not the hour to pretend. This is the hour to be known. So I sit with you, not trying to rush, not trying to force answers, but simply being here. If all I do in this moment is let you find me, then that is enough. If all I do is turn my face in your direction, that is enough. If all I can offer is presence, then I believe it is the most sacred thing I can give. Because you are not moved by performance. You are moved by honesty. And so I open my hands. I open my heart. I give you access to the numbness, the noise, the questions I have buried. I do not want to live another day half awake. I do not want to keep showing up for life while my soul hides in the shadows. Call me back to the wonder I once knew. Show me how to see again. Let the first light of morning not just touch the world around me, but the world within me too. Let it wake up the parts of me that have been sleeping. I know I am not alone in this. So many of us walk through the world carrying silent battles. So many of us have learned how to function while feeling nothing. But this morning, you are calling me out of that fog. You are whispering that there is more than just surviving, more than just managing. There is joy that still lives. There is beauty still waiting. There is purpose still unfolding. If this is the first step, then I take it. If all I do today is remember how to feel again, that is enough. If all I do is sit in your presence and let the warmth of it begin to the what has frozen, that is enough. You never asked me to have it all together. You only asked me to come. And I have come. I want to rush this. I want to run ahead of what you are doing. I will sit here and let my spirit listen. Even if nothing spectacular happens. Even if the clouds do not part or fire does not fall. I will still know this mattered. Because in a world full of distractions, I chose to be still. In a life full of motion, I chose to be present. You meet people in all kinds of places. Burning bushes, upper rooms, empty tombs. But you also meet them in quiet fields and early mornings and rooms where the only light is the one slowly rising outside. You meet people in the ordinary and make it holy. And I believe you are meeting me now. So I lead in. I do not strain. I do not try to force it. I just breathe and let my spirit open. Let this be the beginning of something new. Let this moment break the pattern of numbness. Let this early hour awaken me in ways nothing else has. I do not just want to wake up physically. I want to wake up spiritually. I want to feel again, to dream again, to hope again. And even if that hope is small today, I give it to you, because small hope in your hands is still holy. You have always seen me, even when I could not feel it. You have always waited, even when I turned away. And now, here I am, not to fix anything, not to prove anything, just to return, just to be with you, just to begin again. And in this beginning, in this sacred quiet, I believe something is shifting. I do not need to name it. I just need to receive it. This stillness is not empty. It is full of you. This moment is not small. It is sacred. This whisper is not weak. It is worship. I am here, and so are you. Father, I am still here in the quiet. The world around me has not yet opened its eyes, but you have already met me in the shadows. I did not expect this stillness to speak so clearly, but it does. It speaks not with noise, but with truth. And as I sit with you now, I realize how much I have needed this pause, this breath, this place to be honest without fear of judgment. In the last few minutes, something inside me began to stir again. The numbness did not vanish all at once, but it loosened its grip just enough for me to feel again. And now that I have begun to feel, I can pretend I am fine. Because the truth is, Father, I have been carrying things I do not even have words for. There is a cry in me that I have tried to silence. Sometimes it shows up in fatigue that sleep does not fix. Sometimes it hides behind my productivity, my laughter, my routines. But it is always there, waiting for a quiet moment to rise again. I have not known what to do with it. I have buried it under schedules, distractions, obligations. But here, in this sacred morning hour, it has followed me into the light. So I bring it to you now. I do not even know how to name it. It is fear, yes, and grief. Maybe it is the H of things I have lost and the weight of things I am afraid to face. It is the pressure to be strong when I feel fragile. It is the guilt of wanting to let go when others still need me to hold it together. It is the fear of failing, of not being enough, of being forgotten. You already know all of this, do not you? You saw every moment I tried to hold it in, every time I smiled and said I am okay when I was not, every time I swallowed the lump in my throat just to get through the day, every tear that never fell. You counted it, every sigh I let out in secret. You heard it. So why is it so hard to bring it to you now? Maybe because it feels too heavy. Or maybe because I am afraid you will see it and turn away. But then I remember you do not turn away from brokenness. You draw near to it. You do not reject the ones who weep in silence. You comfort them. You do not ask for strength. You ask for honesty. And that I can give. I do not want to hide anymore. I do not want to keep covering up the places in me that are cracked and bruised. So I open them to you now. I let you see the thoughts I would not say out loud. The ones that question if I will ever heal, if joy will ever return, if this cycle of fear and pressure will ever stop. I have learned how to be strong for everyone else, but I do not know how to be soft with myself. I have supported others while feeling unseen. I have cheered others on while secretly wondering if I have been forgotten. I have poured out more than I have received. And though I have not said it, I have felt empty. You are not just the God who listens to public praise. You are the God who leans in close when I whisper in the dark. You are not impatient with my pain. You do not rush me through it. You meet me inside it. You sit beside me while I untangle what hurts. You do not offer shallow answers. You offer presence. And that is what I need most right now. I can fix all the pieces that feel scattered inside me. I do not know how to explain why this fear keeps returning, why this sorrow still lingers, why this restlessness won't leave. But I know you know, and I trust that knowing is enough for now. I do not have to make it neat. I do not have to package it with clarity. I just have to bring it. So I bring you my fear, the kind that wakes me in the middle of the night and makes me question if everything is falling apart. I bring you the anxiety that hides behind my productivity. I bring you the old wounds I have ignored because I did not want to revisit the pain. I bring you the guilt that whispers, I should be past this by now. I bring it all, not because I am ready to fix it, but because I trust you are strong enough to hold it. And in return, I ask for peace, not the kind that comes from solved problems, but the kind that wraps around me even when the problems remain. I ask for rest, not just for my body, but for my soul. I ask for breath where panic has stolen it, for light where fear has shadowed it, for steadiness where emotion has unanchored me. Would you help me trust that I am not behind, that I am not too broken, that I am not invisible, that I am not weak for needing you this much? Father, I have come to understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to walk through it with you beside me. So I am walking, one slow step at a time. I am showing up in this early hour, not because I am brave, but because I believe you are safe. I believe this place is holy ground, not because it is perfect, but because you are here. Maybe I won't this moment with all the answers. Maybe I won't feel dramatically different when the sun rises. But even if all I carry into the day is the quiet confidence that you heard me, that you sat with me, that you are not afraid of my mess, that is enough. This morning is not just about casting away fear. It is about facing it with you. It is about holding space for what is raw and real, not to wallow, but to invite healing. It is about acknowledging what is hidden, not for shame, but for freedom. It is about naming the pain so it no longer has the power to isolate. So I name it now. I am afraid. I am tired. I am overwhelmed. But I am not alone. I am seen. I am known. I am loved. Not in spite of what I carry, but right in the middle of it. And this, right here, is where the healing begins, not in the fixing, not in the explaining, but in the trusting, in the letting go, in the opening of the soul to the one who already holds it. You are not a distant listener. You are a present healer. You are not rushing me through this moment. You are staying with me in it, so I will stay too. I will not run. I will not stuff it down again. I will not pretend I am fine. I will sit in this quiet place with you until my spirit remembers how to breathe again, until my tears become prayers, until my pain becomes surrender, until my fear loses its voice in the presence of your love. And even now, I feel it softening. Not everything, but something. I feel the edge of my panic begin to dull. I feel the tightness in my chest begin to loosen. I feel the grip of fear slowly slipping from its place. I feel peace starting to move in, not with loud fanfare, but with gentle strength. You are here. And because you are here, I can be honest. I can be still. I can be held. Father, even now, As the early light begins to trace its quiet path across the horizon, I find myself still in this space with you. My heart feels a little less heavy than it did yesterday. My breath steadier, my spirit quieter, not because everything is fixed, but because something has settled. You have not removed all my burdens, but you have reminded me that I do not carry them alone. That reminder alone begins to change things. And this morning, Father, I want to keep leaning into what I so easily forget, because my soul does not just need comfort, it needs remembering. Not the kind of remembering that keeps me trapped in regrets or bound to old wounds, but the kind that calls me back to the truth of who you have always been. The kind that replays the moments you showed up, when I did not expect it, when I thought it was too late, when I believed I was too far gone. There is power in memory, not in clinging to the past, but in collecting the evidence of your faithfulness. You have never failed me. Not once. Even when I thought you were silent, you were moving. Even when I did not see answers, you were planting seeds. Even when I wandered, you were watching. I remember when I thought I would not make it through, that one season, the one where the nights were long and the tears would not stop. I did not think I would recover, but I did, because you carried me. I remember when doors kept closing and I questioned everything I thought you promised. But now, I see how those closed doors were kindness, how they rerouted me to places where grace was waiting. I remember the prayers I prayed in desperation, and the way answers came not with lightning, but with whispers. A conversation, a moment of clarity, chance encounter that felt too precise to be coincidence. That was you. You have always had a way of threading hope through my brokenness, even when I did not recognize it at the time. Father, help me not to forget, not just what you have done, but who you are. When fear rises again, let my memory rise faster. When doubts whisper, let your record speak louder. You are not new to rescue. You are not unfamiliar with deliverance. You do not begin something beautiful only to abandon it halfway. And you did not bring me this far to leave me now. You have been the God of my survival. But more than that, you have been the God of my transformation. You did not just keep me alive. You changed me in the process. And I want to remember that too. That I am not who I used to be. That the pain did something holy. That the waiting was not wasted. That the dark seasons carved space in me for deeper light. Sometimes I look at my life and all I see are the gaps. The things I have not yet reached. The prayers still unfolding. The dreams I have not touched. But if I turn slightly and look back, not to stay there, but just to see, I can trace the fingerprints of grace all over my journey. I can see the growth in places I once thought were barren. I can see the healing in areas I once thought would never stop hurting. So this morning, I pause to remember, not to rehearse my pain, but to re-anchor my hope. You have proven yourself trustworthy, again and again. And I know you will do it again. When the waves rise, I will remember how you calmed them before. When the road is unclear, I will remember how you made a way in the wilderness. When I feel unseen, I will remember that you saw me when no one else did. You are the same God who parted seas, who rained manna, who shut the mouths of lions. But you are also the same God who sat beside me on ordinary days and reminded me that I matter, that I am loved, that I am not forgotten. Memory becomes my testimony, and testimony becomes my weapon. When the lies start circling again, I will fight back with what I know to be true. I will speak of the times you healed, of the nights you comforted, of the doors you opened, of the peace you gave. I will not let the present storm erase the record of past miracles. I will not let today's confusion cancel yesterday's clarity. And I will not only remember for myself, I will remember for the ones I love, for the ones who are still in the middle of their own pain, their own unanswered prayers. I will carry stories of your goodness so that others might borrow my faith when theirs feels thin. I will speak of your kindness so they will know they are not alone. I will testify of your grace so that it becomes a trail of light behind me, a guide for someone else still finding their way. There is beauty in recalling. There is healing in giving language to what you have already done. There is revival in revisiting places where you met me. So I walk through the rooms of my memory this morning, turning on lights that had grown dim, brushing dust off the shelves where your promises still sit. Some of them have not come to pass yet, but remembering how faithful you have been gives me courage to believe they still will. I won't rush them. I won't manipulate outcomes. I will let the past be my reminder that timing in your hands is never wrong. You have never been late. You have never been indifferent. You have never been unfaithful. Not once. So even if today feels uncertain, even if my emotions are still tender, even if the breakthrough has not arrived, I remember who you are, and that remembering holds me steady. There is something holy in looking back with you, not to relive what hurt, but to trace what healed, to see where I fell, and where you lifted, to see where I bled, and where you bound me up, to see where I doubted, and where you still stayed. Even in the memories that carry pain, I find you. You were there in the hospital room. You were there on the lonely drive. You were there when the phone call came, when the news broke, when the bottom fell out. And because you were there then, I trust you are here now. So today, I choose to live with holy memory, to let the evidence of your past faithfulness become the foundation of my present peace. I will remind my soul of what it already knows deep down, that you have never left me, that you have never failed me, and that you never will. Let this remembering become the beginning of new strength. Let it steady my steps and silence my fears. Let it fill the air around me with the sound of trust returning. Let it be my daily rhythm, remembering and moving forward, believing and being still, hoping and resting in the knowledge that you have been faithful before, and you will be again. And because I remember, I will not fear. Because I remember, I will not fall apart. Because I remember, I will not give up. I will look ahead with a quiet confidence. Rooted in every moment you have already carried me through. I will walk into this day not with dread, but with the steady rhythm of trust. You were faithful yesterday. You are faithful today. You will be faithful tomorrow. And I remember, Father, this morning, I come to you again, not just to speak, but to rest. My words are slower today, not because I am hesitant, but because I am learning to breathe differently, to sit still in the truth I remembered yesterday, the truth that you have never left, the truth that every moment of my life is held within your hands. And now, as that remembering settles deeper into my bones, I begin to realize something else, something quieter, but no less powerful. I do not have to hold myself together. Not today. Not here. Not with you. Father, I used to think strength meant carrying everything without faltering, walking through the storm with my head high and my pain buried deep. I thought I needed to prove my endurance, to show that I was resilient, to hold myself upright no matter how heavy it all became. But you are showing me another way, a gentler way, a holy kind of surrender that does not mean weakness, but trust. You are teaching me how to be held. There is something inside of me that resists this, a voice that says I must manage, must control, must stay composed. But underneath that voice is a child who simply wants to exhale, who wants to fall apart without fear, who wants to collapse into arms that will not let go. And you, Father, are those arms. You do not flinch when I unravel. You do not pull away when I tremble. You do not expect me to be more than I am in this moment. It is hard for me to unlearn the habit of striving, to release my grip on outcomes, to stop measuring my worth by how steady I appear. But something in me is shifting, slowly, tenderly. I am beginning to understand that being held is not a reward I earn. It is a promise you have made. It is not reserved for my best days. It is for right now, when I am tired, when I am unsure, when I can quite see the path ahead. Father, I feel it even now, the invitation to let go, not of everything, not recklessly, but of the idea that I must do this alone. I do not. I never have. You have been beside me through every step I thought I took on my own. And even when I resisted your presence, when I was too afraid to be still, you waited. You stayed. You kept offering yourself not as a solution to be analyzed, but as a refuge to lean into. Sometimes being held looks like silence, the kind that speaks louder than words. Sometimes it is a gentle moment, like the sound of birds in the morning or the warmth of sunlight on my face. Sometimes it is the way my breath slows when I whisper your name, or how my tears fall without judgment when I realize you are here, not fixing me, not rushing me, just holding me. You have shown me that this life is not about holding everything perfectly. It is about being held faithfully. When the weight of grief presses in, you do not tell me to get over it. You sit with me in it. When anxiety tightens its grip, you do not lecture. You anchor. When uncertainty looms, you do not demand answers. You offer presence. And in that presence, I begin to release. I release the tension in my shoulders that I did not realize I was carrying. I release the thoughts that loop without rest. I release the pressure to have it all together before I come to you. Because the truth is, you already know. You see the places in me that ache. You see the fears I am too ashamed to voice. And still, You reach for me, not to change me first, but to hold me. It is strange. Father, how foreign that kind of love feels. A love that asks for nothing in return. A love that waits without impatience. A love that holds without conditions. But that is who you are. And the more I experience it, the more I long to stay there, not just visit, but live from that place. The place where I stop performing and simply rest, where I stop pretending and finally exhale. Being held does not mean the pain disappears. It does not mean the questions vanish or the road suddenly clears. But it means I am no longer facing those things alone. It means I have a place to bring the things I can't explain. It means that in the middle of my mess, I am not abandoned, I am embraced. Father, teach me how to lean into you more fully. When my instinct is to push through, slow me down. When I try to earn what is already freely given, remind me I am loved now. When I run from stillness, draw me back not with force, but with gentleness. Because that is how you work. You draw, not drag. You woo, not wound. You invite, not insist. And I want to say yes to that invitation. Yes to being held when I do not have the strength to pray. Yes to being held when the world feels too loud. Yes to being held when nothing makes sense and I just need to be known. I will not shame myself for needing comfort. I will not hide my tears or shrink back from the arms that reach for me. I will believe that I am worth holding not because I have earned it, but because you have declared it. There is something sacred about this kind of rest. It does not fix the world outside, but it changes the world within. It rearranges the chaos. It reorders the lies. It softens the hard places I did not know were calloused. It quiets the noise that says I must be more. Do more. Prove more. And in its place, it plants a truth that grows slowly but deeply. I am safe with you. Father, I want to live from this posture not just in prayer, but in my everyday moments. When I sit with people I love, when I face situations that stretch me, when I walk into uncertainty, let my life become a living exhale. Let my presence be one of peace, not because I have mastered anything, because I have been held by you. And when I forget again, as I surely will, remind me, gently, bring me back to this place where striving ends and surrender begins. To this holy pause in the morning where I remember who I am, not because of what I do, but because of whose I am. You are my steady place, my hiding place, my quiet in the noise, my warmth in the cold, my strong arms when mine are too tired to lift. You are the one who carries me when I do not know how to move forward. And today, I do not need all the answers. I just need to stay here where I am held, known, and still becoming. So I return, not with solutions, but with trust, not with strength, but with surrender. And in this surrender, I find the kind of peace that does not make sense to the world, but feels like home in my soul. This is where I want to be. This is the way I want to live, held by you. Every hour, every breath, every unknown moment still ahead. This morning I return again to the quiet, still carrying the softness of being held. Yesterday, I allowed myself to lean into your arms, to let go of the illusion that I must always be strong. And in that surrender, something inside me settled, something deeper than comfort and awareness. An invitation, a gentle whisper reminding me that being held is only the beginning, because once I am held, I am also asked to walk, to move forward into the unknown. And that, Father, is where my fear stirs again. I trust you when I can feel you. I rest when your peace is close. But what about the moments when the road ahead is dim? When I hear no voice, see no signs, and feel no answers? What about the mornings when I wake up with a weight I can't explain? When I ask questions that have no reply? What about the times when obedience feels more like wandering than walking with direction? Father, today I am not asking for a map. I am asking for courage to take the next step, even when the path is unclear. You know I like certainty. I find safety in structure, comfort in clarity. I want to know where I am going before I get there. I want assurances before I risk. I want confirmation before I act. But you are not a God of formulas. You are a God of relationship, and relationships require trust not in a plan, but in a person, in you. So I breathe slowly now, reminding myself that trust is not built on seeing. It is built on knowing, and I know you. I have known you in the hush of dawn and the H of disappointment. I have known you in answered prayers and in the Hing silence. I have known you when things made sense and when nothing did. And through it all, you have not changed. You remain faithful, steady, patient, and near. Still, I admit there are parts of me that resist this kind of faith. Parts that want to hesitate. That whisper, what if you are wrong? What if I follow you into a season that breaks me? What if the next step leads not to clarity, but to more confusion? What if I obey and the door still closes? But Father, I am beginning to see that the goal is not a flawless outcome, it is a faithful heart. You are more interested in my becoming than my performance. You are more invested in my trust than my track record. You do not ask me to predict the journey. You simply ask me to walk with you. One step, one moment, one breath at a time. And sometimes, the bravest thing I can do is choose to believe that you are good even when life is hard, to believe that I am not abandoned in the fog, that even when I cannot trace your hand, I can still trust your heart. I am learning that trust is not a feeling, it is a posture, a way of being, a daily, sometimes hourly decision to release control, to say yes without demanding a why, to wake up and move, not because I have figured it all out, but because you are already where I am going, and that is enough. So today, I place my feet on the ground and surrender the questions I can't answer. I surrender the future I can't see. I surrender the timing I can't rush. And I ask you, Father, to meet me not with explanations, but with presence, because it is your presence that makes the unknown bearable. It is your nearness that transforms fear into faith. You have never promised me a painless life, but you have promised me yourself. And if you are with me in the shadows as well as the light, then I will keep walking. Even when the sky is overcast, even when the silence stretches, even when the answers do not come, I will keep walking, not because I am brave, but because you are with me. Father, I look back on my story and see so many moments where I thought I was lost, only to realize later you were guiding me all along. Through every detour, every delay, every heartbreak, every unexpected turn, none of it was wasted. You used it all, wove it into something I did not understand at the time. And if you were faithful then, why would I doubt you now? So I remind myself today, I do not need to see the whole path. I just need to walk the part you have shown me. I do not need to have it all together. I just need to stay close to you. I do not need perfect clarity. I just need steady trust. And trust grows not in comfort, but in the wilderness. Not in the known, but in the unseen. Help me, Father, to stop clenching so tightly into my need for control. Loosen my grip on the narratives I have written, the timelines I have crafted, the expectations I have stacked upon my shoulders. Replace them with a quiet confidence, not in my ability to navigate, but in your commitment to guide. You have never once failed me, even when I misunderstood your silence, even when I misread the signs, even when I took detours you never intended. Still, you led me home. You are not a distant observer. You are the shepherd who walks ahead, the comforter who walks beside, and the anchor who holds me steady from behind. You know the terrain. You have already seen the valleys and the mountaintops. You are not surprised by what I fear. You are not shaken by what confuses me. And you will never send me somewhere you are unwilling to go with me. Let that truth be my peace today. Let it be enough when I grow weary. Let it steady my trembling heart. Let it quiet the voices that demand clarity and certainty. Let it become the melody I hum in the silence, the rhythm I move to when all else feels uncertain. Today, Father, I will walk with open hands. I will walk not for outcomes, but for intimacy. I will walk not to earn love, but because I am already loved. I will walk not because I know the way, but because I trust the one who does. And when I lose sight of that truth, when the fog closes in again, remind me gently, whisper to my soul, I am here. Keep walking. This is the kind of life I long for, a life of holy trust. A life that is not shaken by delay or rerouted by fear. A life that may stumble but does not stop. A life that listens for your voice in every step and believes that even when it is quiet, you are still speaking through the peace that passes understanding. So I move forward, not because I have answers, but because I have you. Not because I have figured it all out, but because I am willing to be led. And in that willingness, I find freedom. I find grace. I find joy that is not based on circumstances, but on connection, on this sacred, unseen path we walk together. Even now, as I settle into this morning space, I bring with me the momentum from yesterday, the quiet resolve to keep walking even without certainty, to trust even when the horizon fades into mist. But as I sit here today, something different begins to stir, not the urgency to move forward, but the invitation to stay, to wait, to be still, It feels like a contradiction. Father, after just gathering the courage to move. And yet, I sense that trust is not always proven by motion. Sometimes it is proven in stillness, in choosing not to force what has not yet arrived. You know how difficult this is for me. Stillness often feels like stagnation. Waiting feels like wasting. My mind has been trained to equate movement with progress and delay with failure. But you see time differently. You hold it like water in your hand, and you do not rush what is becoming. You are never in a hurry, yet you are never late. This morning, I want to honor that truth. I want to learn the kind of strength that is not loud or fast or impressive, but rooted and calm and deeply grounded in you. I want to rest, not as an escape, but as an act of sacred defiance against the voices that tell me I must constantly strive, perform, achieve, and prove. I want to learn what it means to let my soul breathe. So I inhale slowly now, unclenching the tension in my shoulders, the worry in my gut, the racing of my thoughts. I exhale every storyline of fear that says I am falling behind, that I am missing out, that I must act now or the moment will pass. Because with you, nothing good will be withheld simply because I chose to pause and listen. You are not a God who punishes slowness. You are a God who honors presence. Father, stillness is uncomfortable because it confronts the parts of me I try to outrun. In silence, I am faced with myself, my doubts, my wounds, my restlessness, my hidden longings. But perhaps this is exactly why stillness matters. It brings to light the things I would rather keep buried. And you do not ask me to fix them, only to name them in your presence. You are not afraid of what I find there. You meet me in the places I have kept in shadow. This morning, I offer you my unrest, the places inside me that are tired of waiting, the dreams that feel distant, the prayers I have whispered for so long that I am not sure I believe in them anymore. I bring you the part of me that wants to manipulate outcomes, to speed things up, to demand signs, and I lay it all down, not because I no longer care, because I trust you to hold what I can no longer carry without being consumed. You are not asking me to fix my life in one prayer. You are simply asking me to return to you again, to be still long enough to hear the quiet rhythms of grace that pulse beneath the chaos, to feel the way your presence expands in silence, to remember that stillness is not absence, it is attentiveness. It is choosing to believe that something holy is happening even when nothing visible seems to change. And so I wait, not with clenched fists, but with open hands. I wait, not as a prisoner of time, but as a participant in divine timing. I wait, not because I am weak, but because I am learning to draw strength from something deeper than my own effort. I am learning to anchor myself in a peace that is not dependent on answers, a stillness that is not void of movement, but full of unseen transformation. There is a seed inside me that needs this pause, the kind of growth that does not show at first glance. Roots that reach down before anything ever breaks through the surface. And you, the master gardener, are patient. You are not frustrated with slow seasons. You are not anxious when things take time. You do not abandon the work just because it has not yet bloomed. You remain, tending, shaping, nurturing what is hidden. And if you are not hurried, then neither must I be. If you are not worried, then neither must I be. If you are working in the silence, then this stillness is not wasted, it is sacred. Father, teach me to lean into this rhythm of grace, not to rush past what feels slow, not to measure my worth by what I produce, not to confuse stillness with failure. Teach me to see waiting as worship, to understand that sometimes the holiest thing I can do is breathe, be present, and choose not to run, to remember that you are God not only of movement, but of the in-between spaces. You are here. Even when the answers are not, you are here. Even when the next step is unclear, you are here, in this room, in this breath, in this pause. And if I have you, I lack nothing. So today, I will not force clarity. I will not chase control. I will not grasp at progress. I will let the day unfold. I will let silence speak. I will let stillness shape me into someone who listens more than reacts, who trusts more than trembles, who rests more than resists. I want to become a person who knows how to be still and still know you are God, not because it always feels easy, but because it is true. Because in the stillness, I find the truth that outlasts every noise. I am not alone. I am not forgotten. I am not failing. I am being formed. Let that be enough for today. Father, even now, as I linger in the quiet you have invited me to dwell in, I sense that stillness is not only where you meet me, but also where you carry me. And somehow, that truth is both tender and terrifying, because the idea of being carried means I must release the illusion that I am the one in control. It asks me to stop bracing for every possible outcome, and instead surrender to the flow of grace that moves beneath what I can see. But Father, trusting what I cannot see does not come easily to me. I have spent so much of my life relying on what I can touch, what I can measure, what I can prove. Faith, though I long for it, often feels fragile like a thread in the wind I am afraid to let go of, lest it slip between my fingers. Yet here I am again, drawn back to this stillness, not because I have mastered trust, because you have been faithful even when I doubted. You have carried me through more moments than I can count, moments did not recognize until they were far behind me. You were there in the silence I once mistook for absence. You were there in the delays I thought were denials. You were there in the endings I labeled as failures, and all along, you were carrying me not with force or spectacle, but with the quiet persistence of love that refuses to let go. That is who you are, and I want to believe you are still doing that now. So today, I choose to yield again, not to fear, not to striving, but to the gentle strength that holds me, even when I feel like I am barely holding on. I choose to believe that you are already ahead of me, preparing places I do not yet know I will need. I choose to believe you are behind me, redeeming things I assumed were lost. I choose to believe you are beside me, in ways I do not always notice but deeply need. This kind of faith does not come from intellectual certainty. It comes from remembering, from returning to the places where I once thought I had nothing left, no map, no plan, no strength, and found, to my astonishment, that I was still breathing. That somehow there was still enough light for one more step. That somehow you had woven mercy into every unseen thread. And if you carried me through then, you can carry me now. Father, some days the weight of simply existing feels heavier than I can bear. The responsibilities, the losses, the uncertainties, they all pile up in quiet layers, each one pressing against the next until I feel suffocated beneath what no one else can see. And yet you see without judgment. You see without turning away. You see the trembling beneath the strength I try to display. And you come not to scold, but to stay. You remind me that I was never asked to carry all of this alone. You whisper that my soul was not built for self-sufficiency, but for connection, for communion, for being held. And in that, I begin to find rest. Not rest that erases every burden, but rest that says, I do not have to be the one who keeps it all together. I am allowed to unravel, because you never do. Help me, Father, to let you in, not just into the tidy places I have prepared, but into the chaos I can make sense of. Help me to believe that you do not need polished prayers or perfect clarity. You just need honesty. You just want access to the places I have kept hidden, the fears I have tucked into the corners of my chest, the hopes I have silenced because they hurt too much to hold. And so I open my hands now, not to offer you my strength, but my need, not to impress you with resilience, but to invite you into my frailty, because I know that when I am weak, you do not despise me. You draw nearer. You hold me with a kindness that does not flinch, a compassion that does not minimize, a love that does not leave. You carry what I cannot, and you do so without resentment or hesitation. So if my only task today is to breathe and to trust, let that be wholly enough. If I do nothing but lean into you, let that be an act of worship. If I cannot run, but only rest in your arms, let that be more than sufficient. For you are not measuring my worth by what I accomplish. You are not waiting for me to earn the right to be loved. You are already here, already holding me in ways I did not know I needed. And perhaps that is the most radical kind of strength, to let myself be carried, not because I am incapable, but because I am loved. So carry me, Father, through the spaces where my own wisdom falters, through the moments when my emotions blur the truth, through the questions that echo louder than answers. Carry me when I am brave and when I am broken, when I am full of belief and when I feel numb. Carry me not just to escape the weight, but to remember the truth. I am not lost. I am not alone. I am not too much, nor not enough. I am simply yours. And if I can rest in that, then I am already home. Father, if being carried by you has taught me to release the illusion of control, then I suppose the next invitation is to open my eyes again, to lift my gaze from the dust of what has been and look up softly, slowly into the expanse of what is still unfolding. For too long, I have moved through the world as though it were gray and predictable, weighed down by deadlines and distractions, untouched by awe. But this morning, Father, something stirs differently. Maybe it is the way the first light kissed the edges of the leaves outside my window, or the hush before the world woke up like a breath held in holy pause. Maybe it is you. Maybe it has always been you. You, who painted wonder into the fabric of ordinary things. I did not mean to lose my sense of wonder. I do not think anyone ever does. It is just that life comes with sharp edges. And slowly, wonder is the first thing we stop reaching for when we are trying not to bleed. We trade curiosity for certainty, imagination for efficiency. We tuck away the childlike questions that once kept us awake with excitement and replace them with lists and expectations that lull us into sleepwalking. I have walked past beauty, Father real, trembling, sacred beauty, and called it nothing more than scenery. I have dismissed miracles as mere coincidence. I have watched light dance on water and never let it touch my soul. But you never stopped whispering. Even when I did not listen, you kept placing wonder right in front of me. In the laughter I ignored, in the warmth I brushed past, in the quiet that felt too uncomfortable to stay with. You were always trying to wake me gently. You were always hoping I would look up. So here I am, Father, asking for new eyes. Not because I need spectacles for distance, but because I need vision for depth. I want to see again, not just to notice, but to be moved, to be undone by beauty, to be amazed by breath, to feel the earth humming beneath my feet, and remember that it spins, not because of me, but because you said so. I want to walk through this day as though I have never seen it before, as though it were freshly spoken into being. Because in many ways, it is. Each morning is a beginning, not just a repeat. Each interaction is unrepeatable. Each moment contains the shimmer of eternity, if I dare to be still enough to let it speak. But Father, I confess, awe is risky, because once I let it in, it breaks the rhythm of rushing. It slows me down. It makes me vulnerable. It unravels the stories I have told myself about how life should look. It calls me to reverence in a world that often rewards indifference. It reminds me that I am not in charge here, that I am, in fact, small, and that truth can either humble me or harden me. Help me choose humility. Let me not recoil from smallness, but embrace it as the doorway to glory. Let me marvel again at stars I can name, and oceans I can tame, and hearts I can fix but can still love. Because wonder does not demand that I understand. It simply invites me to behold. And I want to behold it all, not just the grand gestures of nature, but the intimate miracles of my own breath. The subtle shifts in someone's eyes when they feel seen. The quiet courage of someone who shows up in spite of pain. The soft ache of longing that reminds me I am still alive. Let none of it be wasted on me. Let none of it pass through me without leaving a mark. I do not want to survive my days. Father, I want to receive them. I want to trace the contours of this world like a child seeing light for the first time. Let my gratitude grow teeth. Let it change how I speak, how I move, how I touch the lives entrusted to me. Let wonder teach me that not everything needs to be solved. Things only need to be savored. And in that savoring, I begin to worship, not with words, but with wonder, with pause, with delight, with the kind of reverence that makes room for mystery, and the kind of joy that cannot be explained away, even my pain. Father is laced with wonder, not because it feels good, but because it carves deeper places for you to dwell. Because in the hollow places, light echoes differently. And sometimes, it is only after walking through the dark that I see how radiant even the smallest glimmer becomes. Thank you for not shielding me from the H, but meeting me within it. Thank you for not rushing me to clarity, but inviting me into wonder, because it is here in the not yet, in the maybe, in the slow bloom of trust that I feel your presence most fiercely. So wake me again, and again, and again, until every leaf becomes a poem and every silence a song. Until I look in the mirror and remember that even I am a part of this wonder. Until I stop treating beauty like background noise and start letting it speak to my soul. Until I walk barefoot into this day, aware of how holy the ground beneath me truly is. Let me never forget, Father, that wonder is not a feeling I must chase. It is a posture I can choose. Let me choose it today. Father, you awakened wonder in me again, and in doing so, you uncovered how hurried I have been. Even in my pursuit of you, it is strange. Is not it how we chase stillness like it is something to be caught? How we strain for peace with clenched fists. But you are not a destination to be reached by striving. You are here, already, and now that my eyes have been reopened to the beauty around me, I feel the deeper ache within, not just to see wonder, but to rest in it. I long for peace, not a fleeting calm or a temporary pause, but the kind that roots itself deep in my chest and whispers, even in chaos, you are held. Yet peace, I am learning, does not arrive in thunderclaps. It moves more like a stream in the valley quiet, unhurried, almost hidden. Father, show me how to walk at the pace of peace, because the truth is, I have walked too fast. I have moved through life trying to fix, to finish, to figure it all out. I have filled the silence with noise, filled my calendar with urgency, filled my mind with narratives that say, you are falling behind. But behind what? Behind whom? You are not keeping score. You are not standing at some finish line, shaking your head. You walk beside me. You match my every breath. You are not impatient with my unfolding. You are not threatened by my slow becoming. So why am I? Why do I measure myself by how quickly I can resolve discomfort or erase uncertainty? Why do I rush past the H instead of sitting in its lessons? You never called me to outrun pain. You called me to walk with you through it. And walking, not running, is the rhythm of peace. It is slower than the world demands, but infinitely more whole. Help me walk slowly today. Let me not mistake stillness for stagnation. Let me not confuse peace with passivity. True peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of something stronger. Peace is knowing that the waves may rise, but the anchor holds. Peace is not numbness. It is courage. Courage to stay rooted when everything in me wants to flee. Courage to breathe when the pressure closes in. Courage to trust that even slow growth is sacred. Even small steps are holy. And oh, Father, how many small steps it takes to walk out of fear. Some days, it feels like I am still carrying old panic in my bones. Like my nervous system has not caught up with the truth my spirit believes, that I am safe, that I am seen, that I do not have to perform to belong. I want that truth to travel all the way down into my body. I want it to sit in my gut, steady and sure. And so I ask you now, not for speed, but for surrender, not for shortcuts, but for strength to stay the course. Help me trust the slowness of healing. Let me not grow ashamed of my pace. Let me not apologize for the quiet way you are rebuilding me. The world celebrates loud victories, but you celebrate unseen resilience. You are not embarrassed by the time it takes me to untangle old wounds. You see the daily courage it takes to show up anyway. You know how much effort is behind the soft yes whisper each morning. And you smile at me not because I am fast, but because I am faithful. Father, show me how to create space for peace, not just as a feeling, but as a lifestyle. Let peace govern how I speak, how I rest, how I move through conflict. Let peace saturate my posture toward others, not needing to prove, not craving control, but holding room for differences and breathing through tension with grace. Let me be a person who carries calm into chaotic rooms, who listens more than reacts, who waits without bitterness, who leans into discomfort with a grounded heart. Because this world does not need more noise. It needs more people who have learned the art of being at ease in their own soul. And Father, if peace is learned slowly, then let today be my classroom. Let me begin by unclenching. Let me feel the ground beneath my feet and remember it holds me. Let me notice the rhythm of my breath and trust that you are as near as the inhale. Let me step away from the expectations I placed on this day and ask a gentler question. What is real right now? Not what I fear, not what I regret, just what is. And may I meet it with presence, not panic. Let peace be the lens I use to see this day, not rose-colored delusion, but clarity that comes from being centered in love. Let me not react from old wounds, but respond from a place of wholeness. Let me not grip tightly to control, but hold loosely what is not mine. Let me trust that you are working in spaces I cannot see. Let me rest in the knowledge that I am not behind, not forgotten, not broken beyond repair. I am simply becoming, and becoming takes time. But time is not my enemy. It is the soil in which peace grows. And the more I yield to that soil, the more I release my frantic need to hurry, the more I will find that peace is not something to be achieved, but a person to be received. You, Father, are my peace, not a theory, not a wish, but a presence that steadies my trembling and teaches my heart to exhale. So here I am, walking slowly, and as I do, I find you walking with me, not shoving me forward, not dragging me ahead, but staying in step with my pace, steady as the morning light. Let me walk this whole day that way. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you again in the gentle hush of this early morning. my heart slowly waking to the truth that I am not meant to carry everything alone. As the air still hangs quiet and soft around me, I feel the fragile threads of yesterday still clinging to my thoughts, the doubts I could not shake, the worries I tried to outpace, the burdens I stacked neatly on my own shoulders, thinking it was strength. But now, in this tender space between night and day, I realize I am not called to always be strong. I am called to be held. You never asked me to prove my worth through independence. You never demanded that I mask my fears with a confident smile or press forward when my soul was limping. All along, you have simply waited patiently and lovingly for me to collapse into your arms, to surrender not just my wariness, but my whole self. I see now that being held is not a sign of weakness, but of trust, of returning, of remembering that I was never alone in the first place. In this quiet, I lay down my attempts to figure it all out. I let go of the question marks that keep echoing in my head, the what-ifs, the should-haves, the not-enoughs. They swirl endlessly when I try to hold them by myself, but in your hands, they become still. You are not alarmed by my uncertainty. You are not distant from my questions. You hold both me and the unknown with the same unwavering grace. Father, I do not know how to always accept that kind of love. I am still learning how to rest instead of rush, how to lean instead of lead, how to be nurtured instead of needed. There are parts of me that flinch at the thought of being fragile, because I was taught that to be breakable was to be a burden. But you say otherwise. You whisper that fragility is just a doorway to intimacy, that tears are welcome, and silence does not mean distance. As I sit here with you, I do not feel the pressure to perform. I do not feel the need to explain or justify. I can just breathe. I can just be. I do not have to do anything spectacular to earn this moment. I do not need to accomplish a single thing before you hold me. I already belong here, and that is more than enough. It is in this being raw, unfiltered, open that I finally feel seen. I confess that part of me still resists being vulnerable. I often feel more comfortable extending grace to others than receiving it myself. I have become so familiar with giving that receiving feels foreign. But today, I choose to believe that you delight in holding me just as much as you rejoice in using me. My usefulness is not what secures my place in your heart. Your love is what secures everything. So, teach me, God, how to settle into your embrace. Show me how to release the tension I carry in my soul, the kind that clenches in hidden corners, the kind that says, just keep going. Help me notice when my pace is no longer healthy. Help me recognize when my striving is just a disguise for fear. Gently slow me down so I can sink into your nearness, so I can be held not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, wholly. Let me learn to receive comfort without guilt, to welcome rest without shame. Let me understand that leaning on you does not mean I have failed. It means I have chosen wisely. Let me sit in the warmth of your compassion, not rushing to leave or earn it, but simply staying long enough to absorb its truth. And when I forget again, 'cause I know I will forgive me quickly and draw me back without reproach, in this sacred pause before the day unfolds. I sense how much you long to meet me, not only in my strength, but especially in my softness. Not only in my offering, but in my openness. Not only in my words, but in my silence. I begin to understand that you are not moved by my performance, but by my permission to let you in. So I give you access, not just to the polished parts, but to the frayed edges, not just to the parts I am proud of, but to the ones I would rather hide. Hold me there, in the mess, in the halfway healed, in the unspoken ache. Let me feel that your love does not flinch, even when I do. Today, as the light grows brighter, I choose to walk held, not just helped, not just guided, but embraced. I will carry the memory of this quiet moment into the noise that follows, and when the world asks me to prove myself, I will remember I have already been approved. When the day demands more than I think I have, I will remember I am not alone. When fear creeps in again, I will whisper to myself that being held is not an escape, it is my anchor. Thank you, Father, for never tiring of my return, for always making space, for not rushing me through healing, or hurrying me into strength. You do not push. You invite. You do not scold. You soothe. And your presence is not just near, it is near enough to cradle what I cannot carry. I will not hurry past this sacred learning. I will not belittle the beauty of being held. I will not call it lazy or weak or indulgent. I will call it what it is, holy, and I will honor it by pausing, by yielding, by letting my soul rest in the warmth of knowing I do not have to fix everything before I let you hold me. I just have to be here, and here I am. Father, I come to you with the same arms that were held yesterday. Only now they tremble as they carry things I was never meant to hold this long. I am still learning what it means to let myself be held. And now, as the light shifts subtly in the quiet room around me, you ask for something deeper, not just my exhaustion, but my ache, not just my longing to be comforted, but my willingness to release what has been silently hurting. And that is harder than I thought it would be. There are wounds I have carried so long they have shaped how I walk. Grief that settled deep into my muscles like memory. Regret that wrapped itself around my choices until I forgot who I was before it. I touch these places gently, cautiously, as if unwrapping something fragile I have hidden away. And I wonder, what if I do not know how to let go? What if the pain has become too familiar, too woven into how I see myself? But you, Father, do not flinch at my questions. You invite them. You welcome the trembling hand that offers up what is broken. You wait with patience, not pressure. You never force healing. You simply stand close, holding the space where transformation might begin. You know that letting go is not an event, but a slow and tender unfolding, a decision repeated daily, a trust rebuilt breath by breath. So here I am holding these pieces in my hands, unsure how to lay them down, not because I want to keep the pain, but because I have feared what life would look like without it. Pain has become a filter I have looked through, a weight I have mistaken for meaning, a reason to hold back from joy. But I do not want to keep trading wholeness for familiarity. I do not want to confuse surviving with healing. Help me, Father, to trust you enough to open my fists, to surrender not just the wounds, but also the identities I have attached to them, the narratives I have repeated, that I am not worthy of peace, that I must always carry the burden, that the past defines the limit of my future. Gently unwave those lies from my thoughts. Replace them with the truth that you are not finished with me yet. And what has hurt me does not have the final word. I admit I have sometimes chosen numbness instead of release. I have silenced the H rather than asking what it was trying to tell me. But in this stillness, I feel you urging me to listen again, not to the voice of fear or shame, but to the quiet invitation to heal. You are not afraid of my tears. You do not shame my hesitations. You kneel beside me, not asking for perfection, but for permission to help me let go at my own pace, held by your unwavering grace. Some pain has names, people who hurt me, words I can still hear echoing when I close my eyes, choices I can undo. And some pain has no language, only a dull pressure that lingers in my chest when the world grows quiet. But all of it matters to you, not because you want me to relive it, but because you long to redeem it. You want to restore the places that have been left barren and awaken joy where only numbness has grown. Father, I place into your care the things I have tried to bury, the disappointment that still stings, the apology I never received, the guilt I carry for not being stronger, better, more forgiving. I offer them not because I know what you will do with them, but because I know who you are. You are the one who brings beauty from ashes, the one who makes rivers in the desert, the one who takes even what was meant to harm and somehow weaves healing through it. Let me trust you with my pain, not to erase it, but to transform it, not to forget it, but to walk through it with less fear. Let me stop guarding the wounds and start opening them to your light. Even if the healing is slow, even if it looks nothing like I expected, even if it means grieving what I thought I had already laid to rest. Today, I choose to loosen my grip. I choose to believe that freedom is worth the H of release. I choose to let go not because I am over it, but because I am under grace. I choose to give you access to the tender places, not just in words, but in willingness. Letting go does not mean I stop feeling. It means I stop carrying what was never mine to heal alone. And I know there will be days I take it all back again. Days when the memories feel sharper than peace. But even then, you will not turn away. You will sit with me again, as you do now, reminding me that surrender is not a one-time act, but a rhythm of trust. That I am not less spiritual for struggling to release what hurts. I am human, and you understand. So here I am, Father, still learning, still trying, still opening my hands. I do not need answers, just enough courage to say, take this, too, not in shame, but in hope, not in despair, but in faith that healing is possible even here, even now, even in me. And as I rise into this day, I carry one truth with me, that I am not defined by what hurt me, but by the one who heals me. I may walk slower some days, and that is okay. I may grieve quietly as others rush forward, but you move at my pace. You bless the process. You never rush a soul that is learning how to let go. Let this be the morning I begin again, not by forgetting, but by releasing, not by pretending it did not matter, but by trusting that you can bring meaning even from what broke me. Not by numbing the pain, but by finally naming it and placing it in your hands. And if all I do today is let go of one thing I no longer need to carry, that is enough, and so I will. Father, as I sit with you in this quiet space again, I sense the shift not just around me, but within me. After the release, after the trembling letting go of what hurt, I find myself not in triumph or exuberant relief, but in stillness. A stillness that does not erase the ache, but surrounds it. A stillness that feels less like an ending, and more like the soft hum of something holy that remains, when all striving has ceased. I did not expect peace to feel this quiet, this spacious, this unfamiliar. Yesterday I gave you what I had clung to for so long, and today I wake not to rush forward, but to dwell in this moment of sacred pause. There is something gentle here, something I can quite name. It is not loud, it does not demand, it simply is, and I think, maybe this is what grace feels like when it finally settles in unrushed, undramatic, undisturbed. Father, you never told me surrender would be followed by clarity or control. You told me it would be followed by you. And here you are in the breath between thoughts, in the stillness beneath the noise, in the silence that holds no judgment. I do not have to prove I have healed. I do not have to perform recovery. I can just be held in this spaciousness that does not ask me to do anything more today than remain close to you. There is beauty in this in-between, not quite broken, not fully rebuilt. Simply breathing. I am learning that surrender is not the grand finale, but the gateway to something deeper. It is not a solution, it is an opening. It does not tie things neatly together, but invites me to stop tugging on the threads. There is no urgency here, no pressure to define the next step, only the soft permission to rest in the arms of trust, even when I do not know where this path leads. Father, in this hush, I hear my own heart again, not the frantic beat of fear or regret, but the steady rhythm of being present. I had forgotten how to be here without fixing, without analyzing, without running towards something. But this stillness has no agenda. It simply reminds me that you are enough, that your presence is the answer, even when no questions are asked aloud. And it is here, in this sacred hush, that I notice small things returning to life. Not loudly, not all at once, just little flickers of softness I thought were lost, a sense of breath that fills me without force, a hint of wonder returning to the edges of my awareness, the sound of birds outside not as background noise, but as a part of this quiet symphony I had grown too wary to hear. You restore not with thunder, but with whispers. You mend not with fanfare, but with gentleness. I think I always imagined healing as dramatic, like a light switch, a sudden transformation. But here in the stillness, I see that healing often unfolds unnoticed, like dew on the grass before dawn, like warmth slowly entering a cold room. It does not need to be loud to be real. It does not need to be seen to be sacred. And so I stay here, in the aftermath of surrender, not looking for fireworks, but grateful for this calm. I know I will have days when the stillness feels like emptiness, when the quiet is uncomfortable, when I want noise just to prove I am moving forward. But I pray, Father, help me not to confuse motion with progress. Teach me that depth grows in silence, that trust takes root in the waiting, that you are just as present in the pause as in the breakthrough. You are not the God of rush. You are the God of rhythms. And sometimes the rhythm is rest. Sometimes the beat is so soft it can only be felt when I stop filling every space. Sometimes your voice is not in the wind or the fire, but in the whisper that waits until I am ready to listen. I am learning to love that whisper, not because it gives me answers, because it reminds me I am not alone. So today, I will not demand clarity. I will not force joy. I will simply dwell. I will let the silence be what it is. Without fear it means something is wrong. I will let the stillness hold me, without rushing to fill it. I will trust that you are here, not just when things make sense, but especially when they do not. That you are near, not just when I am strong, but when I have stopped striving to be. Father, this is unfamiliar territory for me to rest in you without asking for anything, without performing, without explaining. But maybe this is the most intimate kind of faith, to simply sit beside you, to let my heart settle in the safety of your nearness, and to believe that is enough, not a prelude to something else, not a waiting room for blessing, but a holy moment in and of itself. Let this stillness teach me. Let it sink into my bones. Let it become the place I return to when the world spins too fast. Let it be the ground from which I rise, not with frantic purpose, but with quiet rootedness. Let it be my strength, not because it is loud, but because it is sure. Even as the day begins to unfold, I carry this stillness with me like a secret, a knowing that I do not have to control every outcome, a trust that I can step forward slowly and still be walking in faith, a reminder that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of you. And so I begin again, not in haste, but in quiet confidence, not with all the answers, but with an open heart, not seeking a miracle, but seeing the miracle of this very breath, this very pause, this very moment where nothing has to be fixed, only received. This is the stillness after surrender, and it is enough. Father, I return to you this morning with a heart still, wrapped in the hush you left me with. The stillness after surrender has not lifted, but it has changed. It no longer feels like simply quiet, it feels like presence, like a sanctuary deep within, where nothing loud can reach. I sit with you now in this sacred interior, aware that something new is blooming in the silence you allowed. It is grace, not the distant word I once thought I understood, but the living breath that has been surrounding me all along. It is your grace, Father, that meets me here not with demands, but with tenderness, not with judgment, but with a hand gently laid on the shoulder of my soul. It is your grace that speaks when no words come, that fills the empty spaces I tried to outrun, that waits for me without pressure, without disappointment. You are not the voice that says, "I should have moved on by now." You are the one who stays beside me when I am still on my knees. There is strength in this grace I never saw before. I used to think strength looked like pushing through, like determination, like never letting anyone see the H. But now I see that strength often arrives quietly. It looks like soft resilience. It sounds like breath returning to lungs that forgot how to inhale without tension. It feels like standing slowly when there is no applause, and walking forward with a heart still mending. Your grace gives me this strength not to conquer, but to continue, not to impress, but to endure. And it does not shame me for my softness. In fact, it enters the very places I thought I had to hide. Your grace is not uncomfortable with weakness. It does not fear tears. It welcomes all of me, even the parts I was taught to silence, even the pieces that are not pretty, especially those. You are not surprised by my fragility. Father, you hold it without flinching. This grace is the reason I am still here. Not because I got everything right, not because I am strong on my own, but because you never left, even when I doubted, even when I avoided you, even when I did not know how to pray. You were already praying for me in ways I could not hear. You were already carrying me through the very storms I tried to navigate alone. And when I collapsed into the silence, your arms were already there to catch me. I see now that grace is not the reward for getting through. It is the companion for the whole way through. It does not wait at the finish line. It walks beside me in the middle. It whispers, "You are still mine," even when I feel lost in myself. It reminds me that being loved has never depended on how well I perform, how strong I appear, or how quickly I recover. Being loved has always simply meant being yours. Father, help me live from this grace. Not just receive it, but carry it. Let it shape how I speak to others. Let it soften the edges of my reactions. Let it widen my heart so I have space for the pain and hope of others too. I do not want to carry only my healing. I want to become a vessel of this kindness. You have shown me a quiet strength for those who are still breaking open, still waiting, still trying to believe they are not beyond repair. Let me be someone who does not rush others through their process. Let me hold space like you do for confusion, for delay, for imperfection, because I know what it is like to be held that way. Let me walk slowly enough to notice the ones walking alone. Let me remember what you have done for me, not as a story of my own resilience, but as a testimony to your compassion. I used to think grace was something I had to deserve, that I had to earn it by proving I was grateful or by showing I had learned my lesson. But now I understand it is not a transaction. It is a gift that comes before I am ready, before I have arrived, before I feel worthy. And it keeps coming. Even when I forget to say thank you, it keeps flowing. Even when I doubt again, grace is not a one-time kindness. It is an endless well, So I dip my hands into that well again today. I let it wash over the places still tender. I let it soak into the wounds not yet fully healed. I let it carry the pieces of me still too tired to stand. And I whisper thank you, not out of obligation, but from the quiet wonder that I still get to wake up into this kind of love. This kind of love does not rush me to the next chapter. It does not force me to pretend. It sits with me in the halfway places. And in that sitting, something shifts. I begin to breathe differently. I begin to walk with a slower, steadier step. I begin to believe that I do not have to know what tomorrow holds, because grace will meet me there too. Father, I do not ask for certainty today. I ask for gentleness. I ask for the courage to choose mercy for myself and for others. I ask to see the divine strength in moments of softness. I ask to live this day not striving to prove anything, but simply bearing witness to the grace that has carried me this far. Let me not forget this feeling when the noise returns. Let me carry this hush like a lantern. Let it light my way when I wander into anxious places. Let it be the song I sing to my own weary heart when the world grows heavy again. Grace is enough. Grace is still here. Grace does not run dry. And if I forget, if the weight becomes too much again, bring me back here, to this quiet where you sit with me without needing me to be anything other than loved. Let me always return to this place where I remember not only who you are, but who I am in you, safe, seen, carried. This is the strength I did not know I needed, the gentle strength of grace. Father, you who have never once rushed me through my healing, you who walk slowly beside the parts of me that still shake, I return again to this morning space, where your quiet meets my breath. The gentle strength of your grace still lingers, soft as mist, steady as tide. And I realize now grace is not just what catches me when I fall. It is what builds something new once the falling has stopped. I feel the invitation today, not to perform, not to achieve, but to rebuild. Not from the wreckage others see, but from the foundation you have quietly secured within me. I used to think rebuilding meant returning to what was, fixing what cracked, repainting what faded. But now I see your kind of restoration is different. You do not patch over what broke. You create new things out of what has been surrendered. You rebuild me not to resemble who I was, but to become who I have never dared imagine I could be. It begins so quietly, a thought softened, a wound no longer burning, a choice made from peace rather than fear. You are rebuilding me from the inside out, Father, and though no one else may notice, I do. I feel the shift beneath the surface. I feel the scaffolding of your love rising behind the silence of my pain. This rebuilding is not flashy. It is not urgent, but it is real. It is holy, and it is held in your hands. I have come to understand that this process is not about getting stronger in the ways the world defines strength. It is about getting rooted, about allowing love to settle into the deepest crevices of who I am, about becoming a dwelling place for hope again. You are not in a hurry, Father, and so I release the timelines I tried to force upon my heart. I release the shame that whispers I should be further along by now. You are not measuring my worth by my speed. You are measuring my healing by my willingness to stay close to you, even when nothing makes sense yet. There are still days when the echoes of old fears rise up, when the memories of failure knock on the doors of my mind. But even then, I feel the difference. I no longer crumble beneath their weight. I no longer believe they hold the final word, because you are rebuilding my belief in who you say I am. Not the version of me shaped by wounds, but the one shaped by wonder. The one who believes again. The one who trusts again. The one who chooses love, not because it is easy, but because it is true. This rebuilding is not just personal. It touches how I see others too. I start to notice their breaking points, not as weakness, but as invitations to be tender. I see their silence not as distance, but as grief needing space. I speak slower. I listen deeper. I ask less from others, and give more of the quiet steadiness you have taught me. I no longer seek to fix people. I seek to be with them, as you have been with me. That is how you rebuild the world, through hearts that know how to stay, not just through hands that know how to solve. There is a sacredness to this quiet rebuilding. Father, a dignity that does not need to shout, a beauty that is not broadcast. I do not have to prove I am healed to be holy. I do not have to declare I am ready to be useful. I am already valuable, even in the midst of process, even in the messy middle, because you are not waiting for the finished version of me to start loving me. You have loved me through every version, and that love has become the blueprint for how I learn to love myself. This is what I ask for today, not a finished structure, but a sturdy foundation, not an audience, but awareness, not recognition, but realness. Let the walls you build in me be made of integrity, not image. Let the doors open to grace, not judgment. Let the windows face the light, even when it feels distant. Let the roof be wide enough to shelter those still searching for hope. I do not want a life that only looks whole on the outside. I want a life that is whole on the inside. I want to be someone whose peace can't be stolen by changing circumstances. Someone who does not collapse every time the world shifts. Someone who has learned to anchor not in perfection, but in presence. Your presence, Father, the steady thread in every unraveling. And when the days come, 'cause they always do, when I feel like the construction has stalled, when I feel like I am breaking again instead of building, remind me that breaking is part of becoming. Remind me that not all progress looks like forward motion. Sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like waiting. Sometimes it looks like sitting among the rubble, trusting that you are not done yet. And you never are. You do not discard what is unfinished. You dwell in it. You whisper life into the hollow beams. You mark the undone places not as shameful, but sacred. That is what makes this rebuilding holy, because it is done in communion, not isolation, because it happens with you, not apart from you. Let me carry this truth today into every interaction. Let me remember that others are rebuilding too, in ways I cannot see. Let me offer patience in the places where I used to offer pressure. Let me speak words that nourish the fragile structures still forming in the people around me. Let me become someone who strengthens others simply by not demanding they be whole before they are ready. Father, you are not just my builder. You are my home. And this journey, this becoming, is not about arriving somewhere new. It is about becoming more at home in you, more at peace in who I am when I know I am held, more at ease in the quiet, knowing you are doing more than I can see. This is enough. This is holy. This is hope, rebuilt not in one grand moment, but in 1,000 small, unseen, sacred ones. So I begin this day not with pressure, but with permission. Permission to be in process. Permission to still be learning. Permission to be rebuilding from the inside out. And with every breath, I lean into the truth that even now, even here, even still I am being made new. Father, you who walk beside me in silence and never rush my pace, I come again into this space where your presence is felt not in thunder, but in stillness. As you rebuild me from the inside out, I am beginning to understand that healing does not arrive like a lightning strike. It settles in slowly, like sunlight warming the corners of a cold room. You are teaching me that peace is not an arrival. It is a path, and it is slow. There was a time I believed peace would come after resolution, that I would finally feel calm when all the questions were answered, when the outcomes were known, when the storms ceased. But now, Father, you are showing me something deeper. That peace is not the prize for endurance. It is the companion in the middle of the unknown. It is the presence that holds me when answers do not. It is the breath I take when nothing has changed, and yet something inside me begins to soften anyway. You are not in a hurry to fix every broken piece. You are not offering shortcuts through pain or detours around discomfort. Instead, you offer presence. And somehow, that becomes enough. Somehow, the slow path, though unglamorous, uncelebrated, becomes holy when I choose to walk it with you. There are no signs that say you are almost there, no milestones that declare I have made it. Just quiet moments of noticing I am no longer afraid of the same things I once was, just the small relief that I can sit in silence and not feel alone. It is strange how peace feels more like surrender than success. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand applause. It simply appears in the cracks between what I expected and what is. It rises when I stop wrestling, when I stop trying to edit the narrative of my life and start listening to the deeper truth beneath it, that I am loved here, that I am enough here, that I am not alone, even when I feel lost. You are not shaping me into someone who never feels shaken. You are shaping me into someone who can remain anchored even as the waves rise. That is a different kind of strength, one that does not require circumstances to cooperate, one that holds steady even when nothing around me makes sense. You are showing me that peace is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to let pain have the final say, and that kind of peace takes time. It cannot be rushed. It grows slowly, like roots beneath the surface, unseen but essential. Father, I confess that I often grow impatient. I want clarity. I want resolution. I want progress I can measure. But you are not measuring me by forward motion. You are holding me by the moments I keep returning to you. The moments I choose trust instead of control. The moments I let go of needing to understand and instead settle into being understood by you. That is peace. And that is enough for this morning. There is something humbling about this slow path. It forces me to stop proving, to stop performing, to simply be. And in that being, I find that you are not disappointed in my pace. You are not frustrated by my hesitations. You delight in the pauses. You meet me in the stillness. You whisper not instructions, but invitations. Come and rest. Come and breathe. Come and just be with me. This is what I need today, not a breakthrough, not a sudden transformation, but the quiet courage to keep walking slowly. Even when I wish I could run, the honesty to admit I am still learning how to live from a place of peace, the faith to believe that even slow growth is still growth, and that nothing cultivated in love is ever wasted. I used to think I had to choose between peace and progress, between rest and movement. But you are showing me they are not enemies. Peace is not passivity. It is the foundation from which wise movement flows. When I move from peace, I do not react. I respond. I do not grasp. I offer. I do not fear. I trust, and trust is what holds me when results do not. I see now that peace is not a feeling I chase, but a posture I practice. It is choosing to unclench my fists, even when I do not know what will happen next. It is allowing my heart to soften instead of harden. It is holding tension without collapsing into despair. And though it is slow, Father, it is lasting. It is not circumstantial. It is rooted in you. Let that be enough today. Let peace begin not with a dramatic shift, but with a simple breath. Let it meet me in the smallest choices, in the way I speak gently, in the way I listen with presence, in the way I wait without needing to fill the silence. Let peace be the undercurrent beneath my thoughts, the thread that runs through my day, quiet but strong. Help me to notice it when it comes, not just in the quiet of prayer, but in the ordinary moments, a kind word, a pause before reacting, a sense of calm amid the noise. These are signs of the slow path working its way through me. These are glimpses of the person you are shaping, steady, open, surrendered. And when the rush returns, when urgency knocks, when the noise rises again as it always does, remind me that I am allowed to step back, that I am allowed to choose stillness, that the world will not fall apart if I slow down, but I might fall apart if I do not. So I choose peace, not because it is easy, but because it is holy. Father, thank you for walking with me in this pace. Thank you for not demanding a performance, but welcoming a presence. Thank you for being the quiet strength beneath my faltering steps. Let this path, though slow, be sacred. Let it lead not just to better days, but to a better way of being, a way rooted in trust, in stillness, in you. Let the peace you offer become the lens through which I see others too. Let me offer what I have received: space for the unsettled, grace for the waiting, patience for the process. Let my life be an invitation to those still striving to come and breathe, to come and rest, to come and walk slowly toward the one who never rushes, but always remains. I may not arrive quickly. I may not look impressive, but I will be whole, not because I moved fast, but because I moved with you. And that, Father, is the kind of life I want to build, one that is not frantic, but faithful, one that chooses the slow path to peace, because it is the only path that lasts. Father, I come to you this morning not with a heart full of words, but with a silence I cannot shake. And maybe that is the point. Maybe this space, this quiet, this stillness, this unanswered place is where you are drawing me closer. Even when I do not hear you, even when I feel like you have gone quiet, there is something within me that wants to stop reaching. Something that believes you are still here, even when you are not speaking. The slow path to peace taught me to walk without rushing, but now I must learn to walk without sound, without certainty, without the comfort of a whisper from heaven. And Father, that is a different kind of surrender. I do not know what to do with your silence. It feels unfamiliar and raw. My heart searches for clues in the quiet, hoping to catch the faintest echo of your voice. But what I find instead is the ache of waiting, the tension of trust. I know you have not left me. I know in my soul that absence is not abandonment, but it is hard. Father, it is hard when I pray and the only thing I hear is my own breath. It is hard when the questions outnumber the answers and the darkness lingers longer than I expected. I keep reaching for you, even when I am not sure what I am reaching toward. I keep hoping that maybe, just maybe, the silence itself is a language I have yet to learn. Could it be that you are speaking in ways that do not fit into words, that this pause is not punishment but preparation? I want to believe that you are not withholding, but inviting, that you are not distant, but different, that this quiet space is not empty, it is sacred. Maybe this silence is not meant to be filled. Maybe it is meant to be felt. In this stillness, you are asking me to remember what I already know. You are asking me to walk by faith, not by the reassurance of noise. You are asking me to return not for answers, but for presence. And perhaps that is the invitation of silence, to sit without striving, to trust without hearing, to stay without proof. That kind of trust, Father, does not come easy. It stretches me. It humbles me. It undoes the parts of me that demand clarity before surrender. Yet there is something holy about not knowing and still choosing to believe, something sacred about waking up to silence and still saying, I trust you. I can feel that you are shifting something inside of me. I am being shaped in the quiet, not through revelation, but through endurance, not by mountaintop moments, but by daily choosing to return even when the sky feels closed. I am learning that your silence does not mean absence of love, that stillness does not mean neglect. I am learning that some of the deepest transformations happen in places where words fall short. The soil of the soul is often turned over in quiet. Roots go deep when there is no storm to pull them upward. I cannot see what you are doing beneath the surface, but I choose to believe something is growing there. even in the silence. Father, I remember your faithfulness. I remember the times you spoke clearly, the moments you held me when I did not know how to hold myself, the prayers you answered in ways I did not expect but desperately needed. These memories are my anchor now. They remind me that silence is a season, not a sentence, that you have never failed to meet me. Even if the meeting looks different this time, if I am honest, I miss the feeling of closeness. I miss the softness of your nearness when tears fall and hearts tremble. But maybe this silence is a new kind of intimacy, one that trusts beyond feeling, one that does not need confirmation to remain faithful. This kind of relationship is deeper than emotion. It is built on covenant. And covenant, Father, is not broken by quiet. I do not want to fill this space with noise just to ease my discomfort. I do not want to pretend to hear you when I do not. I want to be honest here, to be fully present in the silence, to let it do its work in me. Maybe this is how you are teaching me to listen differently, not just with my ears, but with my spirit. Maybe you are teaching me that your presence is not confined to sensation. It transcends understanding. So I will sit here with you in the silence, not because I understand it, but because I trust you enough to stay. I will bring you my questions, even if no answers come. I will lay my hopes before you. Even if they remain untouched, I will choose to believe that you are still God. Still good, still working, especially when you feel quiet. This silence is shaping me. It is revealing what I believe of you when the comfort of noise is gone. It is showing me whether I trust your character or just your voice. And Father, I want to trust who you are, not just what you say. I want to know that even when you are silent, you are still attentive. Even when you are quiet, you are still moving. Help me to carry this faith into today, not flashy, not loud, but steady. Let it be the kind of faith that holds when nothing else makes sense. The kind that does not panic in the pause. The kind that whispers, I am still yours, even when you feel far. Let me not mistake silence for stillness, for you are always at work. Quiet does not mean idle. I cannot see the wind, but I see what it moves in the same way. Though I may not hear you, I know you are moving things within me and around me, rearranging what needs to be shifted, softening what needs to be broken, strengthening what must be rebuilt. Father, remind me that silence is part of the rhythm of love, that sometimes you step back not to punish, but to let me grow, that absence of sound can make my heart more sensitive, more attuned, more tender. Let this silence refine my desire, deepen my dependence, and renew my trust, not because it feels good, because it draws me into something real. Thank you for staying, even when I wonder if you are gone. Thank you for being faithful, even when I feel forgotten. Thank you for holding all the things I can't name yet. Let this be a quiet morning of faith, a morning where I do not need to feel in control, where I do not need to say all the right words, where I can just be still and know. And if today remains quiet, if no revelation comes, if the silence lingers, I will keep showing up. I will keep opening my heart. I will keep believing that this, too, is part of the story you are writing. That even in the silence, I am being seen. Even in the pause, I am being loved. Because you, Father, are not a God who leaves. You are the God who stays even when I can't hear you. And that truth, even in silence, is enough to begin this day with hope. Father, in the hush of this morning, I come again still aching from yesterday's silence, but not empty. Not anymore, because somewhere between the absence and the H, a memory began to stir, a soft flicker, a quiet reaching backward. And in that reaching, I remembered you, Father, who held me long before I knew I needed holding. You, who never left even when I could not feel you. You, whose silence was never separation, only a pause that invited me to remember. And so here I am, still waking in the quiet, but now holding something more than longing. I am holding memory. I am holding truth I have lived, not just believed. And that changes everything. I had forgotten how often you have come through, how many times you have rescued me, restored me, and reminded me that I was never walking alone. The path behind me may be faint, but it is there carved with footsteps of grace, lit by sparks of mercy I did not recognize at the time. This morning, I do not ask for a sign or a word. I ask for the courage to remember what you have already done. Because remembering brings light to the shadows. It steadies my hands when faith feels fragile. It roots me deeper than the noise of today's uncertainty. What I recall becomes my anchor, and I am learning, Father, that memory is more than recollection, it is revelation. It is you, whispering through the pages of my life, reminding me that the story has always been holy. When fear begins to creep in, when doubt knocks at the edge of my resolve, help me remember, not just the big miracles, but the quiet ones. The Tuesday afternoons when peace came uninvited. The mornings when I woke up still breathing after the night tried to break me. The moments when laughter slipped in through sorrow. These are the stones of remembrance I carry now. They tell a story of a faithful God. Let me not be swept away by the rush of what is next, that I forget the faithfulness of what is past. Let me not measure today by what I lack, but by what I have already seen. There is power in remembering. It is how I fight the lie that you have gone quiet forever. It is how I battle the voice that says I am forgotten, because I have seen too much of you to believe that now. I remember how you steadied me when everything else fell, how you turned silence into sanctuary, how you turned sorrow into soil and grew something beautiful from the wreckage. These are not distant memories. They are living proof. They are the seeds of trust I plant again this morning. Sometimes I forget that I have already survived things once feared would destroy me, that the evidence of your goodness is not just in the mountaintops, but in the breath I take right now. I remember the late nights when the H was too loud to pray, and yet somehow I woke up with enough strength to keep going. I remember the doors that closed only to lead me through windows of wonder. I remember the heartbreaks that hollowed me enough to make room for joy I did not know I could carry. You have never wasted my pain. You have never left a scar without purpose. And I want to carry those truths into today, not just as nostalgia, but as nourishment. Let memory be my worship. Let the retelling of what you have done become a rhythm of gratitude that steadies me through the silence. Even now, I see it how remembering reshapes the moment. The silence becomes less suffocating, the questions less sharp, because when I remember, I re-enter trust, not because everything makes sense, but because you have proven yourself before. And if you have done it then, you will do it again. Father, I do not want to live forgetfully. I do not want to be so focused on what I lack that I miss the treasure of what I have already received. There is gold in the ground of yesterday, and this morning, I am digging it up. I am holding it up to the light. I am letting it remind me that faith is not built on feelings, is built on remembrance. You do not need to say anything new when what you have already done still echoes with power. Teach me to trace grace in my timeline. Help me to mark the moments you moved when I did not ask, when I did not even see. Give me eyes to see the invisible threads of goodness that have carried me here, and let that vision steady my spirit when today feels fragile. Memory is resistance. It is how I refuse despair. It is how I reclaim joy. It is how I walk forward when the road is dim, because what I have seen is stronger than what I fear. I remember the time you sent peace when I expected punishment. I remember the forgiveness that felt too good to be real. I remember the restoration that came out of ruins. These are not just memories. They are declarations. So today, Father, I declare that you have been faithful, and I choose to live like it is still true, even in the silence, even in the waiting, even in the mystery. Let my memory become a place of praise. Let it become the altar I return to, not just when I feel lost, but even when I think I have moved on, because forgetting is easy in the noise of life. But I want to be the one who remembers, the one who recalls the mercy that met me in my shame, the one who recalls the joy that returned after mourning, the one who recalls the strength that came when mine ran out. Let this remembering turn my mourning into motion. Let it move me from stillness to surrender, not out of fear, but because of who you have proven to be. And if today feels long and the silence lingers, let me pause to remember. Let me build a quiet moment into the day to look back, not to get stuck, but to get steady, not to relive pain, but to revisit peace, not to crave what was, but to carry what remains, the memory of you. Father, is enough to carry me forward, because you are not just the God of yesterday. You are the same God today, the same kindness, the same presence, the same mercy, and that truth, remembered deeply, becomes the light by which I live. I do not know what this day holds, but I know what you have held me through. And I will carry that with me like a secret weapon, like a song in my chest, like an ember that refuses to go out. I will remember. I will remember you. Father, this morning I return again with my heart still tender from the remembering. You have shown me that memory is more than nostalgia, is a kind of seeing, a way of stepping into today with the weight of yesterday's miracles gently pressing against my back. And now, With that remembering still warm in my chest, I find myself asking, what do I do with all that I have seen? Because when I look closely, Father, I do not just see the moments of rescue. I see a pattern, a thread, 1,000 small mercies strung together like quiet pearls in the dark. They were not loud. They did not shake the sky. But they were there. You were there, even in the things I did not recognize as you at the time. It is strange how clearly I can see you now in the very places I once thought you were absent. That conversation I almost skipped but did not. That job I lost that made room for something better. That unexpected silence that turned into space for healing. The detours, the delays, the closed doors, they were not punishment. They were protection, redirection, formation. And now, standing here, I realize I do not need to rewrite the past to find your grace. I just need to trace it, to follow the faint fingerprints of your presence on the edges of every hard thing, to see not only what was lost, but what was preserved, not only what ended, but what quietly began. Because grace rarely arrives with fanfare. It often slips in unnoticed, waving through ordinary moments, turning even sorrow into something sacred. Father, today I want to be more awake to the threads of grace. I want to see them as they arrive, not just after they have passed. I want to train my soul to look for beauty in real time, not just in hindsight. Let me be the kind of person who does not wait until the miracle is finished to say thank you. Let me notice the first flickers, the tiny mercies, the slow miracles, the invisible work beneath the surface of what I understand. I know now that grace is rarely loud. It is not always the breakthrough, or the healing, or the clear answer. Sometimes grace is simply breath. Sometimes it is the fact that I am still here, still reaching, still open to you. Sometimes grace is found in the middle, not at the end. In the quiet middle space where I have not yet seen the outcome, but I know I am being held. So, Father, let me walk slowly enough today to notice. Let me not rush through the ordinary and miss the holy. Let me look at interruptions not as annoyances, but as potential invitations. Let me hold tension without trying to force resolution. Because maybe the grace is in the waiting. Maybe it is in the questions. Maybe it is in the breath between the words. I confess how often I have measured blessing by comfort. I thought ease meant favor and struggle meant absence. But you have undone that falsehood, because you met me in the H just as much as in the joy. You were no less present in the heartbreak than in the healing. And now, when I see struggle approaching, I do not automatically assume abandonment. I pause. I remember. I trace the thread, because I know now your grace travels through both light and shadow. Let me be grateful not only for what makes sense, but for what stretches me. Let me give thanks not only for the closed wounds, but for the open spaces where you are still working. I do not want a tidy life. Father, I want a holy one that makes room for questions, for wonder, for mystery, one that is not afraid to hold tension between what is and what will be. This morning, I breathe in and let go of my need for control. I lay down my plans and my timelines and the illusion that I can make everything right by striving harder. Grace does not come by effort. It comes by surrender. It arrives when I stop reaching and start resting, when I stop fixing and start trusting, when I open my hands instead of clenching them around what I think I need. Father, help me to see the thread today, not just the knots. When I am confused, let me look for the grace that holds the pieces together. When I am anxious, let me remember that what seems unraveling may actually be the start of something beautiful. When I am weary, remind me that grace is never in short supply. It comes quietly. It comes daily. It comes just when I need it. And when the day gets noisy, when the rhythm of demands and distractions begins to drown out the gentle whisper of peace, draw me back to stillness. Let me remember how to breathe, how to pause, how to trace the quiet thread back to you. Because even when I can't see the full pattern, I can trust the hand that has been weaving it. I do not need every answer. I do not need every wound to be closed. I just need to keep remembering what you have already done and keep noticing what you are doing now. I need to stay awake, to stay soft, to stay anchored not in certainty, but in faith, because faith is not always loud or confident. Sometimes it is just continuing to believe that grace will meet me again today, as it always has. This is the kind of life I want to live, one that traces grace. Even when the thread disappears beneath the weight of mystery, one that celebrates smallness and honors slowness. One that welcomes the sacred in the simple. One that trusts that nothing is wasted, not even the waiting. Especially not the waiting. Let me remember today that grace does not just fix things. It transforms them. It changes how I carry what I cannot change. It turns the H into awareness, the delay into depth, the sorrow into softness. And that is miracle enough. So I enter this day not with striving, but with noticing, not with force, but with faith, not with anxious hands, but with open ones. I trust that what I cannot see is still being held, that what I do not understand is still being woven with purpose, and that every quiet thread of grace will somehow be enough to lead me through. I will not rush. I will not numb. I will not run from the quiet. I will find you here again. Father, just as I always have, not because I deserve it, not because I earned it, but because grace is who you are, and you never change. Father, I come into this quiet morning with my hands still open from yesterday. From the slow release I began as I traced your grace, that thread of mercy softened me in ways I had not expected, tugging loose some tightly held things, did not even know I was still gripping. And now, as light begins to stretch across the day, I feel the invitation deepen to not just notice grace, but to let go of what clings so heavily to the corners of my soul. It is not always easy to name the pain. Father, sometimes it hides behind business or behind the masks I have learned to wear. Sometimes it feels safer to carry the weight than to release it, because letting go would mean facing what it has cost me. And yet, I know you are not asking me to deny the hurt. You are simply asking me not to let it define me, not to let it build walls around my spirit or stories in my mind that keep me from healing. I bring you the ache that lingers from wounds I cannot explain, the ones that still pulse beneath the surface of my laughter. I bring the disappointment I have carried like armor, the failed dreams, the strained relationships, the times I prayed and did not understand the silence that answered. I bring you the old rejections I pretend I am over, the words spoken in anger that still echo when I am tired, the betrayals that left splinters in my trust. I lay them down, not because they no longer matter, but because I know they matter too much to carry alone. Father, you never asked me to hold what was never mine to fix. And yet, I have tried. I have clutched old guilt and shame like a currency, believing perhaps I needed to earn my healing by holding on to the H. But healing does not come through punishment. It comes through permission, the permission to grieve, to forgive, to begin again. It comes through surrender, not striving. So today, I choose to begin again. Teach me how to loosen my grip. Show me how to trust that letting go does not mean forgetting. It means moving forward without dragging the weight. It means remembering with grace instead of regret. I do not want bitterness to root itself in the soil of my soul. I do not want resentment to become the filter through which I see the world. I want to forgive even when I do not feel ready, even when I am not sure how, even when the person I am forgiving is myself. Help me forgive myself, Father, for the things I did when I did not know better, for the moments I fell short of who I wanted to be, for the days I chose fear over faith, silence over truth, numbing over feeling. Help me forgive the version of me who was simply surviving. She was doing the best she could. And now, I want to do more than survive. I want to live free. So I name the hurt, not to dwell in it, but to release it. I speak it aloud, not to rehearse the pain, but to release the power it holds. And I breathe deeply as I imagine you gathering it all, not with judgment, but with gentleness. You are not impatient with my wounds. You are not dismissive of my struggle. You are patient with my process. You know that healing is not linear, that some days I will feel whole and in other days I will ache again. And both are okay, both are holy, both are held. Letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing freedom. It is stepping into today without dragging yesterday behind me like a shadow. It is trusting that you are big enough to hold what I cannot, and kind enough to carry it without resentment. It is believing that I do not have to pretend I am fine to be loved. I want to live unburdened. I want to move through the world with softness, not suspicion, with openness, not self-protection. But I know that requires courage, the courage to feel, the courage to face what I have avoided, the courage to believe healing is possible even if it has not arrived in the form I expected. So give me that courage today, Father, even just a little, enough to take one step closer to wholeness, enough to breathe without bracing, enough to look forward without fear. There are things I can undo, words I can unsay, choices I wish I could remake. But you are not asking me to rewrite the past. You are inviting me to redeem the present, to live here, now, fully, and that requires space, space I cannot have if my hands are still full of what was. So I open them again. I let you gently take what I was never meant to keep. And when the sorrow comes again, as it likely will, I will not see it as a failure. I will see it as a reminder that I loved, that I felt deeply, that I risked my heart. I will not shame myself for still hurting. I will let it move through me like weather, knowing it does not stay forever, knowing it is not the whole story. Father, teach me how to be tender with my pain, not to excuse it or indulge it, but to meet it with compassion, to hold space for what is aching while also holding on to hope. Let me grieve without drowning. Let me feel without getting stuck. Let me mourn what was lost and still believe in what is being born. Because I know this, nothing is wasted with you, not the pain, not the pause, not the parts of me I thought were too broken. You weave them all into something I could never have imagined. And maybe healing does not look like forgetting or returning to what was. Maybe it looks like becoming someone softer, wiser, more present. Maybe the letting go is not the end, but the beginning. So I begin again, with less armor, with more honesty, with the kind of trust that can only grow in the soil of surrender. I release what I cannot hold. I keep what is true, and I move forward. Lighter, not because the pain never existed, but because it no longer owns me. Let me be gentle with myself today. Let me honor the effort it takes to heal. Let me notice progress, even if it is small. Let me celebrate the quiet victories, the unspoken forgiveness, the tension released, the choice to stay soft in a world that hardens. Let me see that healing is not one moment, but 1,000 small decisions to keep moving, to keep trusting, to keep opening. And let that be enough today. Not perfection, not closure, just movement, just willingness, just another step away from what hurts and toward what heals. That is holy work. And I am willing to do it. Not alone, but with you. Father, as I step into this morning once again with open hands and a quiet soul, I find myself still breathing in the truth I whispered yesterday. Letting go is not the end, but the beginning. And so, with a heart that feels slightly less heavy, I turn to you, trusting that even the small release of sorrow makes room for something new. The ache may not be gone, but I no longer stand in resistance. I feel the quiet stream of healing beginning to move within me, not as a forceful rush, but as a gentle flow, steady, unseen, yet deeply alive. I know now, Father, that healing is not a moment I can schedule or a process I can control. It unfolds in the pauses between breaths, in the unexpected conversations, in the stillness after tears. It is not a checklist to complete, but a rhythm to lean into. You are teaching me to stop measuring my growth by how far I have moved past the pain, and to start noticing how present I can be within it, how kind I can be to myself as it ebbs and returns like a tide. Some days, the current of healing feels swift and strong. Other days, it is barely a ripple, but both are valid. Both are part of the sacred movement that draws me closer to wholeness, even when I can see the shape of it. So instead of asking, When will this be over? I am learning to ask, how can I be faithful in this moment? Not perfect. Not finished. Just faithful to the process, to the breath, to the invitation of each sunrise that says, begin again. Father, I am starting to see how often I have treated healing as a destination, as if one day I will arrive at a place where I am untouched by sadness, immune to fear, shielded from memory. But that is not healing. That is fantasy. Real healing is lived within the story, not outside of it. It is found in learning how to hold sorrow and joy in the same hand without denying either. It is found in knowing that peace does not mean the absence of pain, but the presence of your grace amid it. Today, I choose to trust that the tears I have shed have not been wasted, that the questions I asked in the night have not vanished into silence, but have been carried by you, cradled in compassion, answered not always with words, but with presence. You have not rushed me. You have not shamed me for my slow steps or my stumbles. You have simply stayed, and that has been enough to keep me going. There is a strength that comes not from pushing through, but from staying with. And that is the strength I seek today, the strength to stay with myself, to stay with the healing that unfolds not in dramatic moments, but in the ordinary ones, in the warmth of coffee, in the softness of morning light, in the gentle rhythm of breath. There is a quiet holiness in simply staying present, in not abandoning myself, even when part of me wants to run from the discomfort of becoming. Help me trust the pace. Father, help me resist the urge to force what must unfold slowly. Teach me that rest is not laziness, and stillness is not failure. That sometimes the most faithful thing I can do is to wait and believe that you are still working, even when nothing feels different on the surface. The soil does not always show the roots growing, but they are deepening all the same. So is my trust. I want to trust that I am not behind, that I have not missed my moment, that the healing I need is not out of reach, even if it is not yet fully visible. I want to trust that you are not impatient with my pace, but you delight in my willingness, that you do not measure me by milestones, but by presence, that you see the effort it takes just to choose softness again and again, and you call it enough. I want to live like someone who believes they are being healed, even when they cannot yet feel it. I want to speak with a voice that has been tempered by grace, not woundedness. I want to make decisions that reflect freedom, not fear. I want to rest in the knowledge that you are not finished with me, and that is not a reason for despair, but a reason for hope. Let my life be shaped not by what I have survived, but by how I have allowed it to make me more human, more present, more alive. Let me not idolize healing as a finish line, but let me honor it as a continuous, breathing, changing invitation to be fully here. Let me see that even the parts of me that still ache are holy ground, that you are not ashamed of the mess, but you meet me right in it. Today, Father, I choose not to pretend. I choose to speak honestly about where I am, without apologizing for it. I choose to ask for help where I once stayed silent. I choose to feel instead of numb, I choose to believe that progress does not always look like strength. It often looks like honesty. It often looks like softness. It often looks like letting someone else hold space for me when I cannot hold it alone. And if today brings another wave of sorrow, let me ride it without shame. If today brings laughter, let me receive it without suspicion. If today brings silence, let me not assume abandonment. If today brings joy, let me embrace it without waiting for the other shoe to drop. I want to live from a place of trust, not because the path is predictable, but because I know the one who walks with me. You are not a distant observer of my pain. You are a present companion, walking beside me through every shadowed valley, every silent room, every breathless moment. And as I grow more aware of your nearness, I grow more willing to trust the flow, not because I understand it, but because I trust your heart within it. So let this be a day where I walk slowly, aware of what stirs beneath the surface. Let it be a day where I resist the urge to explain myself and simply choose to be. Let it be a day where I notice the tiny signs of movement, a loosened memory, a softened thought, a flicker of hope I did not expect. Let it be a day where I speak gently to the parts of me still waiting to exhale. And when the pace feels too slow, when I feel tempted to rush, remind me again, there is nothing to prove. There is only love to receive. There is only presence to return to. There is only breath, and the one who gave it, still steadying me now. Father, as the light of morning slowly pours through the silence, I find myself still holding the softness you placed in me yesterday. The kind that lets me rest without guilt, wait without rushing, and trust the flow of healing even when it feels invisible. And today, in the stillness between what was and what is becoming, I sense a quiet invitation rising, not only to be held, but to become something new, to become the very light I once kept looking for in others. There was a time, Father, when I believed healing meant getting back to who I used to be before the wounds, before the grief, before the questions that never found answers. But I see now that the goal is not return, it is transformation. You are not restoring me to what I was. You are remaking me into something I have never been. Someone who carries light not because they have never known the dark, because they have learned how to find you within it. I have spent so much of my life searching for peace, for love, for meaning, for a sign that I am okay. I looked outward, hoping someone would see me, someone would understand, someone would make the ache stop. But you, Father, have patiently taught me that becoming begins when I stop searching for rescue and start recognizing that I am being reshaped to embody what I once begged for, the comfort I longed for. You are growing it in my voice, the kindness I craved. You are teaching me to offer it to myself first, the strength I sought. It was not in the absence of struggle, but in the quiet choice to stay when I wanted to run, the peace I chased. It did not come from control, but from surrender. I used to think light came from others. Now I see it was always planted within, waiting for permission to shine through the cracks. Today, Father, I dare to imagine that I am not only becoming whole, I am becoming radiant. Not in a loud or perfect way, but in a steady, grounded way, in the way that knows pain but no longer bows to it, in the way that embraces presence more than performance, in the way that walks into a room not needing to be seen, but ready to see others through the same lens of grace you have offered me. Let this be the day I stop waiting for clarity to feel certain. Let it be the day I stop measuring myself against who I think I should be by now. Let it be the day I choose to be fully here, as I am, in progress, in process, in the middle and still worthy of love, still capable of bringing warmth into cold places, still able to become something beautiful, even with a history I can rewrite. Father, becoming the light I searched for does not mean I no longer feel the weight of shadow. It means I no longer fear it. It means I have begun to see the value in the dark seasons, the ones that taught me depth, that stripped away illusions, that invited me into honesty I never knew I needed. Those nights carved space for light to live. Those long silences grew the roots of compassion I now carry. This morning, I do not ask for more answers. I ask for eyes that see differently, for a heart that welcomes the unknown not as a threat, but as a space for faith to breathe. I ask for courage not to conquer my fear, but to coexist with it without being ruled by it. I ask for presence, not the absence of discomfort, but the willingness to sit beside it and listen for what it is teaching me. You are not calling me to pretend I have arrived. You are calling me to walk with open hands, to lead with tenderness, to show up with honesty and hold space for others who are also becoming. Let me be the kind of light that does not blind, but guides, the kind that does not demand attention, but offers comfort, the kind that reminds others they are not alone in the slow work of healing. If I can do that, even in small moments, a glance, a word, a pause, a breath, then I am becoming what I was made for. Then the H that once isolated me becomes a bridge. Then the stories I once hid become vessels of grace. Then the places I once wanted to erase become sacred ground. I no longer have to wait until everything is fixed to be a source of good. I no longer have to wait until I feel whole to bring hope. I no longer have to disqualify myself because I am still learning. This, too, is part of the journey, this showing up in my not enoughness and discovering that love does not need me to be flawless, only willing. You never asked me to glow perfectly. You asked me to stay close. You asked me to trust that even flickers matter, that even the smallest flame can shift the atmosphere, that even a whisper of faith can move through a room like fire, warming what felt cold and waking what was numb, that even now, in this very breath, I am becoming more than I imagined possible. Let me not look for confirmation in applause or validation in achievement. Let me look for it in stillness, in integrity, in how I treat myself when no one is watching, in how I return to kindness when shame tries to speak louder, in how I forgive what I used to punish, in how I move through the world not as someone desperate to prove, but as someone rooted in peace. Help me remember that I am not falling behind. I am becoming in sacred time. I am blooming in quiet soil. I am unfolding in rhythms only you fully understand. And that is not a reason to despair, but to rest, to believe that this slow becoming is not a delay, it is design, that every moment I stay present is a moment of transformation, that every time I return to softness, I am embodying the very light I used to search for. Father, I do not need to shine like the sun to be enough. Sometimes, all I need is the glow of a candle, the quiet reminder that warmth exists even in the dark. And today, I choose to carry that glow, not to fix others, not to be impressive, but simply to be real, to be kind, to be true, to be a reflection of the grace I have received. I trust you are not waiting for a better version of me to begin working through me. You are working through me now in this breath, in this prayer, in this simple, quiet willingness to keep becoming. I do not have to feel radiant to be radiant. I do not have to feel ready to be used. I do not have to understand the whole picture to take one faithful step. So here I am again, Father, in the early light, no longer searching outward, but listening inward, no longer begging to be rescued, but rising to become the vessel, no longer chasing what I thought I lacked, but waking to what I already carry. And it is enough. It has always been enough, because you are within it. Let today be the day I believe that. Let it be the day I become the light, not perfectly, not all at once, but intentionally, humbly, truly. Father, this morning I come to you again, not to bring an offering of perfection, not to recite promises I cannot keep, but simply to be, to let myself arrive here before you with all that I carry and all that I cannot name. Yesterday, you reminded me that I could become the light I once searched for. But today, something gentler stirs inside me, and knowing that sometimes, even in all my becoming, grace finds me first. It is easy to believe that I must chase transformation, that I have to strive, stretch, and press forward until I am worthy to be held. But you keep interrupting that belief. Father, not with reprimand, but with rest, with a whisper I almost miss, telling me I do not have to arrive to be accepted. I do not have to earn what you already offer freely. Grace is not the reward for the strong. It is the resting place for the weary. And I am weary. Father, weary not just from the effort of healing, but from the endless self-assessments, from measuring my value by how consistent I have been, or how much progress I have made, from believing that grace must be summoned, as if it waits for my best version before drawing near. But here, in the quiet of the morning, I hear something deeper. That grace has never waited on me. It has always moved ahead, clearing the way, catching my fall, staying long after I would have left myself. It finds me in the unfinished. It finds me in the confusion. It finds me in the moment I forget who I am and remember only what I have failed to become. And still, it stays. Still, it holds. Still, it speaks the language of presence when shame wants to shout. Grace is not a finish line. It is the soft place where the soul breathes again. So why, Father, do I still try to prove myself worthy of what you have already called mine? Why do I run faster when all you have asked is that I return? I think it is because something in me still fears that being loved without effort is dangerous, that if I let go of the striving, I will fall into complacency. But grace is not complacency. Grace is not avoidance. Grace is the sacred space where real change begins, not from pressure, but from safety. Not from performance, but from presence. Today, I want to learn how to be found, to stop hiding behind my tasks, my resolutions, my rehearsed strength. I want to open the door to grace and not insist on tidying up before it enters. I want to let it meet me in the mess and not flinch when it chooses to stay. I want to trust that the places I want to hide are not too much for you, that you already see them. And still, you come closer. I think of the moments grace has found me unguarded, when a kind word softened my armor, when laughter broke through grief, when stillness quieted the anxiety I did not know I was carrying. I did not earn those moments. I did not plan for them. They arrived like rain on dry ground, asking nothing of me but surrender. Let me be brave enough to surrender, now not to the weight of expectations, but to the gentleness of grace. Let me stop postponing joy until I feel I deserve it. Let me stop editing my prayers to sound more holy than I feel. Let me stop withholding compassion from myself, just because I am still in progress. I do not want to be someone who only receives grace with apology. I want to receive it with reverence. Father, teach me how to live as a someone already held. Let that truth shape how I move through today. Let it soften the way I speak to myself. Slow the speed of my striving, and widen the way I see others. If grace can find me in my scattered thoughts, in my shaky faith, in my uncertain next steps, then surely it can find them too. Let me never forget that I do not want to be known by how hard I push myself. I want to be known by how fully I trust you, by how gently I carry my own soul, by how willingly I offer others the grace that keeps finding me. And when I fail again, because I will when I forget what I know in this stillness, when I reach for my old defenses, when I measure myself by a harsh standard, I ask that you meet me again, not with a lecture, not with silence, but with grace that finds me first. Let that be the rhythm of my life. Father, let grace not be the backup plan, but the first language I speak. Let it be the space I return to before I even need it. Let it be the banner over my story. Not because I have figured everything out, because I have learned to stay where I am seen and still loved. Help me untangle the idea that growth must be dramatic to be real, that healing must be visible to be valuable, that strength must be loud to be trustworthy. Grace teaches me otherwise. Grace whispers that sometimes the most sacred shifts are the smallest ones. The moment I choose kindness over self-criticism, the breath I take before reacting, the way I soften my shoulders and unclench my jaw when I remember you are near. These are not small things. They are holy things. They are evidence that grace is working, even when the path still feels uncertain. Even when I am still learning to believe I am not too much or not enough. Today, Father, I do not ask for clarity. I ask for tenderness, for the courage to stay soft, for the faith to believe that when grace finds me, it is not by accident, it is by design. You send it ahead of me, place it behind me, weave it into the spaces I think are unworthy. Let it be what defines my next breath. Let it be what holds me when my thoughts race. Let it be what steadies me when the day rushes in. Let it be what guides me home over and over again, until home is no longer a destination, but a knowing I carry with me. Grace is not a reward. It is a reminder that I am loved, still, that I am held, still, that I am growing, still, that I belong, still. And if all I do today is remember, if all I do is let grace find me and stay with it, then that is enough. That is more than enough. Father, you who see the depths before I even try to explain them this morning, I sit here again, carrying the hush that grace left in its wake. After being found by a love that never required my striving, I now find myself returning not just to stillness but to memory. It is strange how remembering can become sacred, how looking back, when done in your presence, can become the very act that moves me forward. I used to believe that healing was only in the release, in the forgetting, in the turning away from the past. But you are showing me something different now. That remembering, when held rightly, is not the same as clinging. It is not the same as reliving pain. Instead, it is the gentle unfolding of how far we have come, how deeply you have stayed, and how continually you redeem what once felt lost. So, Father, I remember the mornings I did not think I could rise, the days when the fog did not lift, and I questioned whether light would ever find me again. I remember the nights when tears were the only prayer I could offer. I remember when the silence scared me, and I mistook it for abandonment. But you were there, even when I did not feel you. Even when I did not know how to speak your name without a crack in my voice. And now, here I am still with questions, still in progress, but standing in the evidence that I was never alone. That memory is not just a trail of sorrow, but a thread of survival, a series of sacred echoes. Proof that the worst days were not the end of the story. That what nearly broke me became the soil for something new to grow. Help me not to dismiss my memories out of discomfort. Help me not to rush past them as if they are shameful or irrelevant. They are the very places where your fingerprints remain. The places where I first learned how to breathe in darkness, how to speak when no one else could hear, how to let go without knowing what would catch me. They are the thresholds of trust, the altars of becoming. So often I want to forget because the past feels heavy. But you teach me that not all weight is meant to be cast off. Some of it must be carried not as a burden, but as a blessing, as a reminder of who you have been to me, and who I have become by walking through it all with you. You are not the God who tells me to pretend. You are the God who joins me in the remembering and helps me see with new eyes. When I look back with you beside me, the story changes. I see your grace in the gaps. I see your mercy in the delays. I see how you used even what the world discarded to shape something holy in me. You did not just get me through those moments. You rewrote them. You wove hope into the unraveling. You turned lament into language I now use to comfort others. Nothing has been wasted. Not a tear, not a detour, not a doubt. And so, Father, help me carry remembrance rightly, not as a list of regrets, but as a collection of quiet resurrections. Let me walk forward not by forgetting who I was, but by honoring who you have been to me. Let my memory become my anchor when fear whispers lies. Let it remind me that I have faced darkness before and still found light. That I have walked through endings and still found you waiting on the other side. Let remembering become resistance against despair, against distraction, against the lie that I have nothing to offer. I have history. I have testimony. I have stories that bear witness to redemption, not because I planned it that way, but because you refuse to let any part of me go to waste. Some mornings I wake up and wonder what difference any of this makes these prayers. These pauses, these small steps. But when I remember who I was even a year ago, even a month ago, I see it. I see how I speak more kindly to myself, how I breathe deeper, how I say no without apology, how I stand longer in the light. And I know, quietly but surely, that change is real. Let memory become the teacher I welcome rather than avoid. Let it show me the scaffolding of grace I did not notice before. Let it become the place I meet compassion again and again, and when I am tempted to shame myself for how long it took to heal, remind me that time itself is sacred when you are the one holding it. Remind me that there is no expiration date on growth, that I am not behind, that progress does not look like perfection. It looks like softening. It looks like honesty. It looks like choosing to stay present, even when I would rather run. Let me remember the moments I thought were endings, but became beginnings. Let me remember how strength did not always feel like roaring. Sometimes it was whispering hope into silence. Let me remember how grief stretched my capacity to feel, to hold, to love. Let me remember how the very cracks I wanted to hide became the channels for light to get in. Father, today I choose to remember not with sorrow, but with reverence. I choose to look at my past not as something to fix, but as something to learn from. I choose to see the broken places as sacred ground. I choose to believe that you have been working even when I did not know what to pray. Let that remembering become fuel for compassion, not just for myself, but for others. Let me recognize in their stories what you have done in mine. Let me sit with their questions, because I have lived with my own. Let me hold their pain with tenderness, because I have known what it means to bleed and still heal. Help me not to compare scars. Help me not to rush others through their seasons of silence or sorrow. Help me to be someone who walks with, not someone who preaches at, someone who remembers so deeply that grace has covered me. I can help but extend it freely, and when I am tempted to numb myself through distraction, through business, through detachment, remind me of what it costs to feel again. Remind me of the beauty that comes only when I stay awake to this life, no matter how raw it feels. Let this morning be an altar of memory, a place where I light a candle not for what is gone, but for what still glows. Let it be a moment where I gather the pieces of who I have been and offer them back to you, not as something broken, but as something blessed. I remember, Father, I remember who I was. I remember what I feared. I remember what I survived. I remember how you met me in each place, quietly, patiently, consistently. And because I remember, I walk differently, I pray differently, I believe differently, not because I have arrived, but because I have been found again and again. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning feels different. It is not louder or brighter, but it holds something quiet and strong. There is no grand revelation, no thunder in the sky, no shaking of the earth, just breath, just stillness, just the soft rhythm of being alive. And somehow, that feels like enough. I come to you now not with questions, but with a gentle surrender. Not because I have figured it all out, but because I no longer need to. I have been through the H of silence, the long road of healing, the trembling of surrender, and the slow, sacred work of remembering. And in each chapter, you have remained patient, steady, present. There is no dramatic ending today, no final breakthrough, no declaration of being finished. Instead, there is a soft unfolding, like the way dawn arrives not all at once, but in layers of light. I think that is what this journey has been all along, not a single spark, but the faithful rising of something new within me. Father, thank you for staying close when I did not know how to be near to anything, not to myself, not to others, not even to you. Thank you for holding the words I could not say, the emotions I could not name, and the hopes I barely dared to hold. You have been the silence that did not shame me, the light that did not rush me, the truth that did not demand I hurry into healing. You have waited with me through long nights and uncertain mornings. And now, with nothing flashy to offer, I simply bring my whole self quiet, aware, still becoming. There were mornings I began with clenched hands, grasping for control. Now I open them, not because I am brave, but because I am tired of carrying what was never mine to hold. I let go of trying to impress you. I let go of trying to fix myself. I let go of rushing through pain as if growth had a timeline. You never needed me to be perfect, only present. And now, here I am, not healed all the way, but healing. Not fearless, but less afraid. Not always certain, but rooted in something deeper than answers. Rooted in you. This prayer is not a goodbye. It is not the closing of a book. It is the turning of a page I no longer dread. It is the awareness that you are in every step ahead, as surely as you have been in every step behind. There is freedom in not having to start over. There is peace in knowing that you build on whatever is already here, however messy or unfinished. And maybe that is what this morning is about, the permission to keep going, just as I am. I want to carry this quiet into the noise of the day. I want to remember that the light does not have to be loud to be real, that your presence does not need a stage to be powerful, that the sacred is often simple, and the miracle is that I am still here, still breathing, still beginning. Father, let this moment linger. Let it seep into my bones. Let it change how I speak to myself. Let it soften how I see others. Let it remind me to pause before I react, to listen before I judge, to extend grace even when I do not understand. I do not need to know what is next. I just want to keep walking in step with you. I want to live in a way that makes room for beauty I did not plan for joy I did not earn, for love that makes no sense but shows up anyway. And when the day grows heavy, when my confidence slips, when old fears knock again, I will return here, to this moment, this breath, this quiet acknowledgement that I am held, not because of my faith, but because of yours. I pray not for perfection, but for presence, not for ease, but for endurance, not for escape, but for peace in the midst. Let my life be a continuation of this prayer, a movement, a melody, a memory of grace that lingers beyond words. To everyone who has walked this journey beside me, even in silence, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for sitting through the hard chapters, for not rushing the quiet parts. Your presence is a gift. Your prayers, whether whispered or written or wordless, have added something sacred to this space. You who are listening, who may be wary, unsure, or just beginning, I honor your presence here. You did not have to come this far, but you did, and that matters. That speaks of courage, of desire, of something holy waking up inside you. If this prayer found a home in you, let it keep echoing beyond this screen. Let it remind you tomorrow morning that you are not alone, that your voice matters, that your questions are welcome, that your heart, wherever it is already a place where God delights to dwell. And if you feel led, leave a piece of your heart below. Share your reflections, your hopes, your prayers. Let us create a circle of light that spans beyond this moment, a ripple of grace in a world so desperate for gentleness. If this journey meant something to you, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so you won't miss the quiet that continues. Share this prayer with someone who may need a reminder that morning always returns, and keep showing up, not for the perfect prayer, but for the honest one. Faith is not a finish line. It is a daily return to breath, to stillness, to the one who meets us in the ordinary and whispers, "This is holy," too. So, as the world begins to stir outside your window, as the sun stretches across the floor, and the wind brushes against your skin, let this prayer stay with you, not as a conclusion, but as a beginning that never really ends, like the hush of early morning lights spilling gently through the trees, like a breeze that carries the scent of hope, like a river that keeps flowing, quietly, freely, endlessly forward.